Hello, welcome to the Zwift Racing League 2022-23 Round 1. Nathan Guerra here, Dave Towle next to me. We're out in the park perimeter loop for the Zwift Racing League presented by WTRL for the Emea. We will be covering today the Open Men's East as well as, Middle East, the Open Men's Central, and the Women's West. 3 races in a row, park perimeter, 3 laps. A little bit different than the last time we were here with 4 laps and a whole lot of sprint points. Dave, this is going to be some exciting racing. The boys are actually out on course already about 4 km, but they have not hit that first sprint point just as yet. That's going to be the first contention point out on course.
Yeah, the gray shot sprint. Thanks, Nathan. Great to see everybody here. This is one of our all-time favorite courses, no doubt about it. We're in Central Park. The realism is stunning. And Nathan, we do have a little bit of time because that sprint comes up pretty late in the lap. So let me lay out some groundwork for us here as we get racing underway for week 2 of 2022-23 season 1, race 2. So that being said, this one is going to be an absolute throwdown, a Donnybrook, if you will. So as Nathan mentioned, that sprint happens 3 times. We'll be scoring. Also remember that here in ZRL, we've got not only first across the line points, but fastest through segment. So we'll be watching for that fastest through segment. That's a critical couple 100 meters there right up to that sprint point. So you can double dip if you play it right out there. So the finish line, you're going to see it's about 9.7K per lap, a little under 30 kilometers, 18 miles in old money. It's going to be brutal. However, if you've been to Central Park, you realize it's nowhere near flat. It's up and down. The profile looks like a rusty saw blade, to tell you the truth. It's going to be painful, and there's going to be some people that will feel like their legs are being cut off out here today because this is going to be a race. Nathan, I think I can throw it back to you now as we'll be looking at the action out there. Pretty soon they should be sprinting. But Nathan, this is a course that is relentless. And if you don't stay in the draft, if you don't pay attention out there, once you lose the slipstream, it could be lights out.
100%. It's really rolly as well. We do have Harlem Hill with a little bit of a descent, then heading into a very, very sharp uphill section that riders are going to be giving it a little bit of a go each lap, I believe, through there. We'll be jumping down. I mean, that section, we just saw some orange numbers, and I think Skylab, is going to be absolutely on the hammer today. We can jump down to the live images now, and you do see Skylab in the white and black jerseys really looking to dominate here and control this race. I saw them going over the top of that reverse Harlem climb, and it was full gas attack, it looked like to me. I have a feeling for them today, the man to be watching out for. I've been hearing a little bit in the background about this individual. I've seen him as well, personally raced against him out on Richmond on Libby Hill, demolished me in a sprint last year. It's going to be Simon Rigby. This guy is a rocket, man. Absolutely watch out. Caleb Carl's also out there for them today, so that's going to be interesting to see what he's going to be pulling off as they're going to head right now into this first sprint, Dave.
Yeah, 17 watts per kilo. I mean, the guy is a wattage cottage, no doubt about it. When you talk about the guy from Isle of Man, that's Simon Rigby. This is going to be ESRT. They're one of the powerhouse squads out here as well, along with Skylab. And that's the showdown that we're looking at now. ESRT. Olsen going up against, trying to come up and over the top. Ollie Peckover is there.
Brandlin is here. Yardheed, Verm. But look at this. It's SRZ with the domination going 1-2. John Viren coming on through there. It looks like for that team as well. In fourth, I think this Lindquist is there. Off the front, though, in the purple kit or light, dark, what would you call that? Pink? I don't know if I'm...
Magenta, I think.
Magenta. There we go. Magenta with ESRT. Now, ESRT here.
Watch out for the counterattack here. Watch
Dave.
out.
Yeah, watch out. This section is the section immediately after the sprint. There is a little bump here to be watching out for.
So, yeah, in the downhill run here, there's a very unique finish that we've got in Central Park on the Park Perimeter Loop, as it's a steep downhill that really, it's like a roller coaster ride to the finish, as you well know, Nathan. But you can see little splits are opening up here. It's going to be incredibly aggressive out here all day long in every category. And remembering now that that no sprint with points at the arch at the finish until the end of the race. So they'll complete these laps, but they're not scoring points here. We should talk about the power-ups available. Feather, Ghost, and Anvil are the three today. Feather reducing your weight by 10% for 15 seconds. Ghost making you invisible for a lot of people around the world. Ghost these days, 10 seconds. You can ghost, and then the Anvil is, there's really one critical sector, Nathan, I'm sure you know it well, where the Anvil can be a big help. It adds 50 kilograms to your weight, but for 30 seconds.
The most recent update to the game, Dave, there was a suggestion made within the racing community, and they went ahead and made a change to the Anvil in 1.29 release on Tuesday. It only activates on a 1.5. It won't work on the flat.
And is that
1.5% or more negative gradient is the only time it activates while you have it active on your avatar. So it only actually has any effect on your avatar when you're going downhill now. It no longer adds the 50 kilograms across the board. It's just the moment your avatar is going downhill, if you have it active, it then works. Otherwise, it doesn't do anything.
I'm sure a lot of people are happy to hear that. Takes some pressure off, right?
Right? I mean, when am I going to be hitting the Anvil and you're totally. No, I just added 50K.
And having it backfire on you, that is a disaster. It's like having a feather that only works on the uphill.
Well, you can see, look at all these Anvils rolling into this downhill. They're using it exactly like we thought they would, and they just went rolling. I mean, think about how much weight they just carried that speed with, and now it's not affecting them negatively.
Anvils to the front, please. Anvils to the front. Hot soup coming through, right?
100%. That's exactly what's going on here. Now, we do have a rider here in yellow making a little bit of a move, the CRCA kit. It's going to be Belyakov for the DRT team, but coming over the top, it's going to be Sisu racing with Lou. And then Pilkington, watch out for this, man. Coming out of the UK, making a little bit of a move. Interesting wheel setup on this felt now. And that's a lighter type bike. Does he think it's going to be all about Harlem Hill? Sisu now covering it. It looks like it's going to be Jenkinson there from Skylab as well, coming right through. This is going to be a 4-up, little bit of a, maybe not so much of a move, but a look to roll off the front with the right setup of teams, perhaps, Dave?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's interesting. So next sprint coming up at little past 17K in. It's going to be interesting to see how they approach this. Skylab just rushed the show, didn't they? Last time it was a nice step up there by John Varm, well known from Premier League race in years past. One of the top Swedes. Boy, the Swedes are all over this race, to tell you the truth, Nathan. If you look at it, the top 15 riders here, more than half of them are Swedish.
Yeah, this and that they're always to be watching out for, right, Dave? I mean, we've had
Oh
so much
gosh, yeah.
familiarity with the SCR team. They are one of the most long-standing teams, and when they show up to any race with the kind of depth that they have, the amount of riders that they have on that team, you
Men
always
and
have to
women.
keep, yeah,
It's
keep your
incredible.
radar on,
Mhm.
because you see the blue and white making their way to the front. You better be watching out, and they know how to cover moves.
How good is Skylab though, Nathan, as well? Just kind of highlighting some teams. And one rider I do want to talk about is World Elite Zwifters Ken Chong from Singapore. He's a very interesting rider, tremendous talent, and a rider that I've really got my eye on. But the Skylab team, you mentioned Simon Rigby. He's a monster. But what about Caleb Carl?
Yeah, Caleb Carl today, for this, he is such a threshold type rider. I have a feeling that
Seems like
for
a perfect
today,
course, doesn't it, for him?
he's going to be one that's going to cover and kill anything. I think that
Mhm.
the riders to be watching out for Skylab in a lot of ways, for what the ZRL is good at, are going to be their big sprinters. I think Carl more going to be one that's going to be trying to keep things together for Skylab, and if Skylab can try and make some moves at the front or anything like that at the crucial points, but otherwise, I think Carl's job out there today is he's going to be the one hunting down anybody trying to put a wrench in their plans.
I'm not sure what the currency is in Sweden, Nathan. It might be the crown, the kroner. Um, but when I look at this today, ESRT has got to come in as the big money favorite, right? Look at the talent that they've got: Blomqvist, Vanham, Valbeck as well, and Anders Olsen, who is en fuego, absolutely on fire. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. We do have another sprint coming up here in about, let's call it, a little more than 5K. That's about 6 minutes at the pace these guys are flying at. This course, it's a lot of climbing out here, Nathan. 381 meters throughout the duration of nearly 30 kilometers of racing, over 3 laps. And we're deep into lap number 2 now.
Take a quick look at the current standings for this specific team league standings right now. This is
Oh,
going to
wow.
be the EMEA. And interesting enough, SZ Mir. Now, this is what we were talking about, right? Watch out for Team SZ at the top of the board, across the line there
So
for the first race there,
that's
139,
Bjarhead.
as you can
Yep.
see. Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Jonas Bjarhead. Yeah, on that team, Swedish Swifters, you've got some classics. Thomas Nielsen, Jonas Bjarhead. So that's no surprise. I'm glad that you brought this graphic up, Nathan. So ESRT, Leonis must be lions in Swedish, is my guess. I'll Google that. Well, we take a look at what's got to be one of the most competitive leagues out there, without any doubt.
Yeah, and Skylab, I think they're looking to try and fight back, because look at how things finished up. 135 across the finish line, right? They were right there with SE Mir. But look at what ESRT did. They snuck right in the middle of that with all of those first through segment or fastest through segment points and FAL points. Early on, with those sprinting points, they were able to
Yeah.
really take down one of the top teams that we've ever seen in the EMEA, and that is Skylab. But that
Did they
135, they
change their
put
game
so
plan?
many. I mean, that's a question, right? Yeah, good question, Dave.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Let's take a look at how that first sprint played out, because the second one's going to come up very, very quickly. If the strategy was working for you the first time through, clearly you double down now. And I think that it looked to me like ESRT got up there, not so it wasn't a complete sweep by Skylab, but I think that they took 2 of the 3 top spots in that last sprint. And we've got to
Well,
remember, too, that there's going to be the fastest through segment to look at today and every day with the WTRL and ZRL. But here we go, Yangu. You were talking about riders to watch. Well, this is definitely one of them. Great call, Nathan. And look at the damage being done. Somebody better call the National Guard, because this is bananas. This is going to be a lead into the sprint that is just going through hell for a lot of these riders right now.
Yeah, and World Lead Zwifters, they're back at 16 points, fifth place currently. They want to make it in this move
They got
because
to make a mark.
they've
Yeah.
got to do something here because ESRT, Skylab, Emea here, Kirchner as well with the Aero Bs. I mean, what a stacked field. It doesn't get much more stacked than this. There's 3 seconds off the front here. Kirchner's not going to be very happy about this. Neither is SZ. I would really think that a chase is going to, either they're going to send somebody up the road from some of these other teams, or a concerted chase is going to enter into this situation. That's exactly what's happening here as Savory looks to try and hold on to the wheel of the Skylab rider here, but it's not going to happen. It gets shut right on down. And that's going to be Sandgren actually coming in
Counterattack.
from...
Listen. Yeah, counterattack going now. This is great racing going on. Okay, so look at this here, Nathan. These guys are absolutely taking off the gloves. It's a Donnybrook here in Central Park. Now, the peloton here, the smart riders right now are sitting back and letting these guys slug it out. Anders Olsen is getting back up there for ESRT. These guys realize they're only about 2.5K from the next sprint. Skylab playing their cards very well here. As you can see, they're starting to assemble regulators. Mount up. Here comes Pilkington. So more big names moving to the front. You can see why these guys, I mean, this is the very highest level that we've got racing in ZRL's community right now. Extremely talented field here. And as I was talking about at the top of the show, Nathan, you cannot take your eye off the prize for a moment out here.
No, you can't, because it's going to be somebody giving it a go, especially with the undulating nature of this course. As we wait for the next section, of course, that the riders are going to be taking on for the sprint, we can see if we can try and bring in exactly what this looks like. And you'll get an idea of what I mean by the ups and downs of this course, Dave. It just doesn't stop coming at you as far as opportunities to gain a little bit of speed and try and make some moves. At that 9.78 kilometers, 6 miles in total, 124 meters of climbing, and 406 feet. That is in old money here, as you can see, for the Park Perimeter Loop. And look, that is that Harlem Hill downhill that we talked about. The grinds around into a corkscrew, right up into that sharpness that we've seen them attack for 2 laps now at this point. And even after that, it's a grind uphill, a little bit of a down, and then into that sprint section with a punch over the top, that initial kick into the sprint. As you can see right there, there is that jump that you got to do over this 3% gradient, essentially like a BMX course is what I'm looking at. And then a crazy downhill sprint into probably, I would say, 70 kilometers per hour at the time. After that, there's a couple bumps into the finish line. The finish line as well is uphill, Dave. This is a no-joke course.
Yeah, I think this is almost the perfect course. It's a racer's course, no doubt about it. It gives you so much to work with out here, and I know that these guys are making the most of it. Again, you're joining us here. This is going to be the Argentinian that Nathan is with, Savory, who's a really talented sprinter. He's on the World Elite Zwifters team. And one, Ariel Savory, Nathan, he sits on 16 watts per kilo for his 16-second power. So that's right up there amongst the very best. You had mentioned Simon Rigby. We'll be hearing more about Simon Rigby. He sits at 17 watts per kilo. So these are some of the guys that put up the huge numbers in this group.
Yeah, be on the watch out for those two. Now, timing, though, is definitely going to be a big part of this as well, right, Dave? I mean,
is that so true? Yes.
This specific sprint as well, because of the way that there is that 3, 4, 5, 6% gradient that you have to punch for about 30 seconds or so prior to the sprint and then roll over the top. I have thought I've had this sprint so many times only to be completely crowded out, just completely swarmed at the line by 5 or 6 riders here. So be on the watch out for that every time. Oh, the SCRT. They're giving it a little bit of go. This is the team that's trying to make some moves here. They are the ones that put themselves right in the middle of that 1-2. They're second place overall at this point, and it's a move here being made by, looks like, Olsen. Early move.
Is it going to be enough?
I don't know if this is going to stick, though. Look at her. They come. It's going to be Brandlin again with a feather power up. Looking to get a gap here early on. Not trusting the pack to bring him through.
Yep. Holy cow. I mean, absolutely stacking it now. And this could be good for the fastest through segment as well. This is what you call rolling it. Timing was absolutely the name of the game there, as they just knock out the lights with an incredible job. So that was sprint number 2. One more sprint there before we go to the finish line. And let's see what we've got now, as it looks like this is going to be, well, at this point, that's going to be Martins attacking there for Cryogen, as he realizes that might have softened things up enough. Great time for the counter. attack, as that's Ken Jeong going with him, the rider out of Singapore on World Elite Zwifters. But this is all going to settle back down. It went to a boil there. But we'll see the anvils getting thrown up as these riders will use the benefit of that extra 50 kilograms here.
Yeah, a little bit of extra weight coming on through.
Right.
Look at the speeds of the riders still rolling through 50 kilometers per hour here. Newman, Andre Schultz now, as you can see here, making his way to the front as well. 46 kilometers per hour, right into this little 1% uphill grade. And listen now, 4.3, just look at that. The amount of speed that comes through from that sprint just rolls you right into this section as if you don't even have to do anything. The speeds are so incredibly high as that pack just churns. And now we're going to hit the rollers and we're going to reset into the final lap here, Dave. We'll start getting an idea of what the segment points stand at, but it's going to be Kirchmer Cycling as well as Sisu involved here. Skylab still there, Root Riders, IMC and World Elite Zwifters, ESRT. Every one of these teams still well represented. Not too many riders dropped off. Has this pack really been decimated much, or is this a sprinter's course out here today, I think, Dave?
I think that the latter is what I would choose. Again, it's not for a lack of trying here, but these riders realize that unless you get everything lined up perfectly, attacking out of this group and making it stick is almost impossible with these very steep downhills. That really plays into the physics that benefit the peloton greatly here. This sprint, the final sprint, not the bonus sprint, so they've got one more bonus sprint before the finale here, is all about experience. If you've got a big engine and you're relatively new to racing at this level, you're going to be very, very careful about being taken to school out here, because that sprint is really about sitting in the middle part of the pack as it goes, surfing your way through on the downhill. And then I've heard you talk about it a million times. It sort of reminds me, Nathan, a little bit of Libby Hill as you transition from the top of Libby Hill over to 23rd Street. That momentum that you carry down and then back up is where the race is won and lost. And having the top speed as you hit the bottom part of that climb to the finish is going to be absolutely key.
Look at these anvils. Did you see how far off the front there? Scheiter was there. Lou was there as well. I mean, this was interesting to see how these play.
It doesn't make a tactical difference is the thing.
At that point, it didn't. It really didn't right there. No,
it's good for show. It's a show pony kind of thing, right? It's kind of cool, but it doesn't affect the outcome of the event.
Now, the way that he used it, maybe if he would have timed it differently from the back of the pack, like halfway through, or maybe like at the top, it came from the very back and then rolled through with all that speed to time it just right. Perhaps it could have done something. Then again, really, he just rolled to the front with it.
I've talked about it a million times, Nathan. At 19.7K to go, the next sprint comes up at 27K. What good would he have done by getting a 3-second advantage at that point in the race, other than put himself out there in the wind to become absolutely exhausted as he gets caught, right? Just because you can attack and get a gap with that tool doesn't necessarily mean you should.
100%. I mean, you've got to be. How committed would you have to be to do that at this point?
Why would you think?
Like
I mean,
especially with how many points
you're
are on
this
the
group
line,
off.
Right?
Yeah.
Like double points at the line. I don't know. It'd be super interesting to see if somebody could try to do something like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, again, you could say, well, then you'd have other teams chasing, but at this point, there's so much power spread amongst 5 different teams that are all here to race. And I think it's really worth noting a team like World Elite Zwifters, they really need to make a statement here. It's much like any major sport where, one loss or one tough race is you can manage that. How you come back the next week, there's a huge difference between going 0-2 versus 1-1. That's the biggest difference of all when you look at the swing that you have there. You have a chance to go back to even or down twice as much. So it's a big one for World Elite Zwifters out here today to just try to get themselves back where they belong.
Moving along the lake here in Central Park. This is the main section, of course, where you just have a flat or false flat where anybody who's trying to work together with any kind of moves, a lot of times this is the section where you may see them. Not going to be happening out here today. We'll be heading into a little bit of a downhill, a little bump, and then back into the reverse of that Harlem Hill. Maybe we'll see a concerted attack over that 11% gradient or so, though, perhaps, Dave?
Well, or not. because what I'm really seeing here is these guys are very smart about what they're doing. See how everyone is trying to keep their TSS as low as possible here, just not doing any work because they know it's pointless, right? That's a very smart field. So unless you've got something planned and are going to commit and go all in, you've got to risk in order to win. But I don't know that that's the place I'd risk it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, if you don't think you've got a sprint to contest either the finish or the segment points any longer, that would be the only reason I could see is that you're trying to make something happen and make some of the other teams work, perhaps. You no longer have anything in your mind to contribute to grab points other than maybe get away or wear some legs out where the rest of your team can sit in.
That's a small sample group of riders that are strong enough to attack this group and force the chess pieces to move around on the board versus someone who would still think that they could have an impact in the finish, right? Because just attacking out of this group, you've got to be tremendously strong. No
100%.
doubt
Yeah.
about
The
it.
watt per kilogram monsters when it comes to anybody
Yeah,
who's
to
just
get
kind
a
of a
3 second
lighter rider.
advantage.
It'd have to be a
Yeah.
lighter
Oh my
rider who's got
gosh.
a high FTP that just is going to look to try and hurt some legs, and
And if
nobody wants
that's
to do anything
true,
about it.
and if you are a lighter rider with the high FTP, you'd want to save it because this is the perfect finish for you if you
True.
can play your cards right.
True. If you've got a good snap, look at this. 3 riders get with the anvil. This anvil is doing all kinds of things out here today that I think
It's interesting.
look,
All
Ashton's
3
here.
teams, yeah, 3 big teams represented. Here's an example. If this break doesn't work, because the team's chasing Kirkmeyer, shutting things down there. That's a familiar scene. Swedish Swifters and everybody back together now, recombobulated.
Yeah, and here we go. A couple of feather power-ups being used real quick there, it looked like, as they make their way to the front. Look at this shot of the peloton as they make their way past the big rocks and a left-hand turn.
Great shot.
No rainbow
That's right
road.
where I met Christina Grossman.
Right here.
One day at Central
Really?
right there at those rocks. Yeah. It's unbelievable what the Zwift engineers did with creating this Central Park world. It is stunning when you're there how realistic it is. Like those rocks all actually exist. Those trees all really exist. And this course, they race on it about 4:30 in the morning on Saturdays during race season. It's the only time you can really get the park and have it safe. It takes a tremendous number of volunteers. And this course has been iconic in American bike racing, and really Madison Square Garden is just very, very close by here. This is true blue New York City right now. If you've ever read The Catcher in the Rye, that carousel where Holden Caulfield was hanging out is just off to their left right now. It's amazing how stunning it is. But let's focus on the racing now because, Nathan, we're going to have a double dipper here. It's going to be a sprint for the bonus, and then after that, God be with you, only the strong survive into the second tier of that sprint. That is where the lactic acid goes into just insane pooling in your legs. And these riders really show you. I've seen you do it out there racing, Nathan, how deep they go in these final sprints. It's going to be, it looks like we've got a Ruhr riders. Looks like a German team here, Nathan.
That was just the anvil, Dave. That's all that was. Like, that's how strong it is now on the downhills. He didn't do anything. Like, it wasn't even on purpose, I don't think. He just used the anvil and boom. Like, that is so amazing. But yeah, I think you're right here, Dave. You couldn't have called it better. Everyone's thinking about the sprint at this point. They're really saving their legs. The difference in how they went over that climb versus the first lap and the second lap was complete. So much different. No fireworks. Everybody went to a fizzle. Nobody even lit a match, it looked like. Everyone just watched each other, and now it's all about the setup for the segment points and the finish line.
In the old Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns, they call that a Mexican standoff, right? Where everybody's waiting for the other guy to go to his gun first. And no one is going to make their move until the time is exactly right. And that's what we've got. This is going to be unreal, folks. Go ahead and wake up grandma, get the kids, bring them over to the computer because we've got ourselves what's going to be a nuts sprint coming up here. We've got guys now, John Verm, I'm looking at 16.8 watts per kilo, Nathan, for 15 seconds. His teammate Blomqvist is a monster. We mentioned Singaporean Ken Chong to watch for. Volbeck. But Nathan, are you still with Rigby, Simon Rigby of Skylab? I would not, boy, I don't want to bet against him today. This guy can crush it.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, maybe it's a little bit of a little pride on Nathan's end with how badly he beat me up over the top of Libby Hill that I'm like, yeah, Rigby's got to do it. That's the only way it can go here, but we'll have to wait and see in just a moment here.
What about Savory?
Savory, though, is he and he has quite the sprint. He has overhauled a pack time and time and again. And again, this is not obviously the way that you roll into this sprint, the amount of speed you carry downhill, and even the anvil, actually, I think, because of the way that this is going to be ramping up, it'll be a little bit of a different way that you can use the anvil, because there might be a lot of riders who are using them at the same time, and that might just accelerate and be an exponential
gives you a lead
jump, I think, essentially.
What I want is to be sitting right on when those 10 guys use the anvil.
Anvil on top of anvil on top of anvil, and next thing you know,
anvils.
That's what's happening.
And then, and then I'll use my feather just as I hit the bottom of that descent into the finish. We are locked and loaded. This is not a drill. Big time bike racing back in Central Park. This is Park Perimeter Loop. Dave Towle here with Nathan Guerra. And Nathan, this is it. We're moving into finale mode. See the speed? There goes Kirkmeyer.
Newman now with the first move. It looks like it's going to be A3 now. Their team making not really so much a move, maybe just a little bit of a setup here for a moment. Yeah, and it looks like now over the top, Jenkins. That position might not be the best, though, as you move backwards rather than forwards. When you find yourself on the front, you got nothing but a headwind here, Dave, and you've seen it time and again. If someone's there too early and not there for the lead-out train, they're just going straight to the back.
Okay, question for you, Nathan. How much do you put into the bonus sprint, knowing that the finale is where the lion's share of the points are? And that's it. Let's call it just under 30K. So within about 3K, we're going to have 2 sprints here. Are you willing to commit to both?
Yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be more about splitting the team into roles. Martin's here now. Cryogen, the German rider, 179 beats per minute, 180 beats per minute, looking to get the jump on the rest of everybody else. Now is Brandlin and the rest of the SC team going to be able to respond? I have a feeling, though, they're going to overhaul them real quick here. Olsen again from SRT, but they've done it again here, Dave. Too early. Here comes Schultz now, but no, Jarheed, as well as the rest of the team's Swedish Zwifters over the top. Rue Rider's trying to do something, but nobody can touch this team. It's the blue and white again, going 1-2, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, they have been phenomenal out here. What a job. So let's see if they can lay back and do it again. Try to go to the old Muhammad Ali double punch, and now you're going to see Dave. Mayhem.
There's
absolute mayhem. Yeah, absolutely, Nathan. About 12 riders on the right side of it. I think is it going to stay split? An attack coming now from Olsen. That's going to be Anders Olsen, the ESRT rider in the magenta kit on the Tron bike. So
all
here
in,
we go, Nathan.
All in, Dave. 6.4 watts per kilometer, 400 watts. This is no joke. He wants to hold this kind of wattage all the way to the line, and they are slowing down behind. 2 seconds. He's got the gap here, Dave.
Look at his power. It's sitting over 6.3 watts per kilo, so he's just on the gas. The accelerator is down on the floorboard, and he's duct taped it there. He's going to win or die trying out there. That's a big talent. Yangu coming from Skylab is in now, so everybody pushing their chips into the middle of the table. This is it. Okay, let's see what we've got. This is certainly one of the more interesting finales that we've seen on this course in a long, long time. This is going to be, it's Piranha. Sisu rider.
Piranha. He's hunting like a hungry fish after Olsen.
That's a real name or not, but I love it. Yeah.
Make it happen here. 700 watts over the top, and I think the pack is just going to kind of let them dangle out there because the speeds on this downhill are going to be insanely
they got a long ways to
high.
go.
Long ways to go, as you'd say here, Dave. And I have those anvils. This speed is going to get an 80+ kilometers per hour perhaps in just a moment, but they're off the front, and they're still sticking their chips in the
Swedes
table.
are just reloading.
They're waiting for the river card here, Dave. Is it going to happen?
The Swedes are like those Vikings that are sitting about 20 meters offshore right now, just sharpening their swords, because there is no doubt that they're going to be coming for this one. It's going to be bedlam out here. This is going to be the greatest name that we've ever seen in esports. Piranha right now for the Sisu team. This is a team with a tremendous amount of spirit. I love the heart that we're seeing here. Obviously, he can sense blood and goes for it now, and he's coming up on 1 point. Let's call it 1K to go. Very, very close to 1K to go. I don't know, Nathan. This is quite interesting.
Savory, though. Savory with the ghost power up says, forget it, I'm going for it. This world lead Zwifter, I don't know. That move isn't going to go much anywhere. Jenkinson now also from Skylab with this anvil power up, these new power ups. They are just throwing all kinds of wrenches in here. Jenkinson, he just opened up a 3-second gap immediately, 69 kilometers per hour. Now he's coming up on Olsen like flying, but Piranha here at 5 watts per kilogram, 6 watts per kilogram. There's the finish line. He did it, Dave. He did it. I can't believe it. I thought this was not going to happen, but he did it to the line. Olsen just gets caught. Skylab Jenkinson made it happen to the anvil for second, Dave. What?
Oh, my gosh. Did not anticipate that finale, and get the headline out there now. Piranha bites for win, as that was a stunning late race attack. So we're going to have to let the dust settle here in Central Park as we take a look at the points. Now, this is a points-based league. Race 2 of the ZRL here this season. Park Perimeter Loop is done and dusted. I am wondering now, did the Swedes pick up enough? So there's a couple Swedish teams to look at, actually, ESRT and Team SZ, the classic Swedish Swifter squad. Skylab also, Nathan, with a late rush there. So that's Piranha, the Sisu rider taking the win as we watch the replay.
And that was a counter, Dave. The interesting thing is that was a counter to Olsen. He went Olsen used a huge amount of effort, right, on the downhill with the speed, but then he came through on that 1% uphill bump, those little rollers then. Savory tried making something happen. All he had was a ghost, so he's like, whatever, I'll use my ghost and see what happens here. I've got a power up to try and make a surprise. But then what's even more interesting to me is that Jenkinson, at a time that I would think would never, ever stay away, to use the anvil at the top of this and then try and stay away with it is so unheard of. But he's got 7.3 watts per kilogram. He's not all in on the sprint, Jenkinson, at this point. Gets up to 75, opens up this gap, and he stays away as well.
As they activated the new parameters around the anvil, that clearly made a huge difference here. It's interesting to see the anvil. What an interesting finish. So again, this is going to be our winner coming across the line. The points are scored team deep now. So no one rider will be able to win the race outright for their team. You're going to need at least a couple others scoring points, and ideally the whole team is able to get in the mix here. This will go down as one of the more fantastic wins that we've seen. I mean, hats off here to Team Sisu. This is, though, really where the lion's share of the points are going to be gobbled up now, and you can see that white jersey surging through.
There's Rigby. There's Rigby trying to get his teammate, but unable to get it. Jenkinson,
doesn't matter, to tell you the truth.
No,
at the
you're
end
right.
of the day, because both of their points will combine together there. So it's just, timing again. There's John Verm coming through for, it looks like about a 7th place to me, but the proof is in the pudding. We'll have a chance to have a lot more racing out here on this great course today. Really looking forward to that.
Yeah, that was well played to Sisu. I mean, putting their name on the map amongst us, because if you look at we were looking at those league standings earlier, and that wasn't necessarily Sisu at the top, not even close. I mean, Sisu were in 10th place coming into this, right? So
how did the rest of their team score today? That's really going to be critical if they want to move up.
Good point, actually, yeah, as we look at that. I mean, this is after the first round of racing so far. So that's what we're looking at here currently. We'll see if we can get some points up. We're waiting for some of the data to reload for us, and as soon as we do get that, we will bring in some of the more of the points. As we wait for that to reload, we may go to we do have, actually, it looks like the segment points for today. This does not include the finish line points just yet. Look at how SC cleaned up pretty well across the board, but it was ESRT. John Verum, that was a great call there, Dave, on a rider out of Switzerland, but not riding for SZ. I wonder how they feel about that one.
Yeah, it looks to me like we were talking about Sweden, there are 6 Swedes in the top 10 there. That's bonus points here, so we haven't factored in. And it looks like that's through, I'm thinking that's through all 3 sprints there for our A men that we just watched, but not including the finale. So, you can always go to WTRL .racing to find more information. We've got a lot of racing to look forward to. So when we have all the complete data, we'll get that to you.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get some of the actual results up on board here in just a moment as well, and see how things played out. And here we go. This is going to be Mowag Piranha. Sisu Racing of Asetti coming through with a 38.06, Dave. Chris Jenkinson from Skylab with that anvil, 1.5 seconds, 5.7 seconds back. His teammate there, a tenth of a second. He just held them off with that amazing move, but it's going to be Skylab going 2-3. Then it's Kenneth Chong there for World Elite Zwifters for 4th. Anders Olsen for Leonis ESRT. Then it's going to be David Henderson for World Elite Zwifters 6th. Samuel Brandland, a name that's super familiar to the world of racing out on Zwift for SZ Ymer. They are a little ways back here, Dave. This finish line is interesting because the league points, they were dominating all the way back in 7th. They did grab a lot of first across the line and maybe fastest through segment, but interesting how this played off.
I would say it looks pretty good for Skylab, to tell you the truth, after looking at all of the bonus sprints and the final points to add on there. Those that we haven't translated that into points. Interesting to see that Piranha there at 4.1 watts per kilo has the lowest amount outside of Caleb Carl at 3.7, which seems exceptionally low there. But these guys clearly sat in the pack until one decisive moment out there. But it is really worth noting the way this league is built is that with Sisu not having another rider in the top 10, Skylab has a tremendous advantage there with a 2nd, a 3rd, and an 8th out of our top 10. We have to factor in the bonus sprints. There were 3 of them out there today where Skylab was also in contention all day. So I think that their consistency with the strong finale, just by a thumbnail sketch, Nathan, I think Skylab should be just ahead of Swedish Swifters and SESRT.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how this plays out for that. Right now, I have some preliminary that we can take a look at real quickly. I do not think that they're separating out, though, for us the FAL, FTS, and finish line points. I think this is with both races in there, so we don't get to see what actually happened on the day, but this is the totals.
It's showing us league points, right, so far. So, right. I mean, but that has to be 2 wins for Swedish Swifters if they've got 40
looks like
points.
it, which tells me that their FAL and their FTS is really, because they were so high on the finish points going into the round 2 here, but I think they just were able to eke out a lot there for the FAL and
there
FTS.
were a lot. This race was heavily weighted with bonus points today. And I think the Swedes realized that, Swedish Swifters, and they played their cards that way. Even though they didn't stack the top 10, they did have a rider in 5th, I believe. But I think that the way they looked at it was go for points early and let the chips fall where they may at the end. And it looks like it worked for them.
100%. Yeah, that's a good call there, Dave. Now, we do have about 15 minutes to the start of our next race. So we're going to take a quick little 12-minute break here. We'll be coming back at you in just a few. This is going to be covering the Open, not men, but the Open Central for Middle East and Africa for EMEA. And so Europe, Middle East, and Africa, 12:30 Central Time. It's the Zwift Racing League Open. We've got some of the top teams. ART is in there. Dirt, Evolution. Be on the watch out for Gen X, GFTBE. Hexagon are in here, Dave. We've got some of Kayan is in here, as well as Burke, as well as Khan, the 2 riders you've been talking a lot about at Wednesday Worlds. So be on the watch out for them. Pierre Almeida Mutant Racing are jumping in with James Young. We've got next with Chris Uberti, Moan Ostenfeld. Barry is here. Zach Neer is here. So this next race, Dave, is going to be absolutely on fire.
Great. Looking forward to it.
All right, everybody. We'll see you in a few. Don't go anywhere. And about 10-minute break.
Let them see your perfect imperfections. Don't hide from bad feeling, 'cause they just want your words. I won't let them take me. No, I won't let them break me. No one on this earth can bring me down. Now I'm standing tall. I won't ever fall. Concentrate on the tightrope. The hope that you make it through to the other side. Be who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Oh, 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 oh. Be who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Oh, 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 oh. Be who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Oh, 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 oh. Be who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Oh, 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 oh. Let them see your perfect imperfections. Don't hide from bad feeling, 'cause they just want your words, 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 words. Be who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Oh, 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 oh. Be who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Oh, 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 oh. Be who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Oh, 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 oh. Be who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Oh, 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 oh. Be who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Oh, 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 oh. Be who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Oh, 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 oh. Be who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Oh, 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 oh. Be who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Oh, 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 oh. Be who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Oh, 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 oh. Be who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Oh, 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 oh. Be who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Oh, 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 oh. Be who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Oh, 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 oh. Be who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Oh, 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 oh. Be who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Oh, 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 oh. Be who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Oh, 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 oh. Be who you want to be. do you want to be? Being who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Now it's their time. I'll never fall. Concentrate on the tightrope. The hope that you'll make it through to the other side.
Well, as we come back to the racing, immediately what we see on our screen in the warm up pens right now. Next, presented by Insured, we've got Barry, we've got Nair, we've got one of the top esports teams in the world, if not the top esport team in the world, proved through what was the premier division. And now going into the Grand Prix that's coming up this Friday. Here, Dave,
No one else has proven differently, have they, Nathan?
No,
at this
and
point,
the leadership
they're the king
is
of the
on
hill.
them. But the reality, though, Dave, of this, look at this. Wahoo Nicole, Hexagon, Mutant X, Next, Beast Mode, Castelli, On the Rivet, Generation X, Down and Dirty, Grand Fondo. This is probably the most stacked field. I mean, I say this, we got all this hype and everything, but
yeah.
this is
Woo.
insanity when it comes to this. And Wahoo Nicole, look what they did on that climb. They showed up and showed where their talent was, and they got a little bit of a jump here. But next, this is their kind of race, right, Dave? Just big power sprints.
Oh, and yeah, where there's having a strong team with depth makes a huge difference on a course like this. Nathan, this is phenomenal when you look at what we've got ahead of us here today. Because, I mean, even Team Castelli, presented by Elite Men, they've got a lot to fight for. They have a good race today. They're back in the top 3. This is going to be the league to watch, I have to say. Some of the names in this group, Nathan, are the best in esports. You mentioned Zach Nair, who we started with. There's some breakthrough stars on the Hexagon team, Khan and Berk Kayan out of Turkey, an emerging nation, and the monster Howell Davies, Wahoo Nicole, James Young of TNT. I mean, this is quite a group that we've got here. I also wanted to shout out the Irishman, Christopher Dawson, racing for Wahoo Nicole. They've got Ben Russell out here too. So they came in strong. They're going from strength to strength from last week to this week. Welcome to 2022-23, week 2, and we are out on course. Andiamo, gentlemen. So, all right, Nathan, very quickly, let me just quickly let folks know that it's 3 laps here on Park Perimeter. The power-ups in play today are Feather, Ghost, and Anvil. We've seen all 3 used effectively in some of the previous racing out here today. So, all right, in the early going, we've already got one rider dangling off the front, throwing down the gauntlet out here.
Teppo.
There he is, Teppo. I'll tell you, who would do that? What kind of person would attack on the first 300 meters? Well, Teppo Lorio. Good to see you, Teppo. Welcome back. There's Zach Nair covering. These are 2 of the biggest names from Zwift Premier League. No doubt about it. Familiar to those that love their esports. Here we go, folks. This is a great way to introduce to you some of the stars of esports out here, Nathan.
40 kilometers per hour from the pack currently. Are they just going to, I mean, if you let Teppo Lorio and Zach Nair roll off the front, I mean, there's a couple names. There's only a few that I would go, that's actually dangerous at this point in the race. Like, you let these 2 get away too far. And if the pack keeps looking at them at 40 kilometers per hour and these 2 are serious about it, I mean, it's going to be a tough go, but those 2 are 2 names I wouldn't put it past them if they get enough distance.
Well, I would imagine they're just sharing a chuckle right now, I would think.
They have 5 seconds.
How quickly?
Strasser's going across. People are starting to take this seriously, Dave.
Well, this is where you start to watch this bizarre shift of power, right? Like, so Rose Beast Mode, one of the tremendously talented squads out here, always a team to watch. What happens next? Does Hexagon
Mutant
try
jumps
to
across? Yeah, right. Like, they just keep on sending. It turns into this amazing situation where riders just keep going across and the teams just look at each other.
This might be an American only thing, a Canadian too, but build a bear, right? This is build a break. You do it one team at a time. You dangle out there, 5-10 seconds, so it's bridgeable. And you see that if every team wants to send one guy across, this would be the most unique start to a ZRL race that we've ever seen. And Strasser is just going to go right to the front here and just keep the pace high. That's going to be Teppo Lorio in the magenta and blue jersey, and Zach Nair. These are 3 extremely familiar names as the gap goes out to nearly, we're pushing up on 10 seconds here. This is bizarrely interesting. This is like watching a horror movie, the first scene of a horror movie where you're like, oh, don't go in the bar. Don't go in the barn.
Now, my question here is what's going to happen on this downhill? That's going to tell us everything. And whether or not Near or Strasser or Laurie
How about if
go
they
to the
all
front.
drop anvils and scoot like
Yeah.
a scalded cat, right?
Now, interesting here. Near's really got to do this. Is smart what he's doing here. He's got to push orange numbers into this downhill, or nothing's going to happen the way that they want. Now he's going to get into that super tuck. Now somebody doesn't even come over the top in order to get this speed really rolling high. Because what's going to happen behind here? This pack is going to come absolutely flying through with that snowball effect. L'Oreal to the front here, 68 kilometers per hour, a little bit of continuance. Now the pudding, it's all going to be in the, the proof is going to be in the pudding here when it comes to this next climb. This one right here is whether or not anyone launches across to them. That may be what's going on here. A setup for a launch across on the climb, perhaps, Dave?
Well, boy, I tell you what, I just want to look at what we do know right now. 3 of the strongest teams are represented. The top team winning last week is going to be the team of Teppo Lorio. He started this fire. Zach Nair coming from next. That takes out a lot of horsepower, but it looks like the gap is going to start coming down. I don't think this is really unique, but again, bike racing is bike racing. The power of that peloton, you would think that they're not going to let this, certainly letting these guys dangle at about 7 seconds now almost plays into the peloton's advantage here, because these guys are going to be burning some watts, burning some calories, I should say, that the riders sitting back in the peloton who are a little more conservative right now might be able to avoid. But not a bad time to have some of your team's lieutenants moving up to the front to keep the pace a little bit higher, to keep these guys within shouting distance here, because a tremendously talented group of 3 riders here in this early breakaway. It's nearly 30 kilometers of racing over 3 laps here in the park perimeter loop, so very, very early going. Don't want to get too excited about this break, but it's certainly sent some shockwaves back through the peloton. I agree with you, Nathan. This was not one that you could play around with.
Yeah, right here, 6 seconds. If they can hold on to a little bit here, Near now continuing, they've really got to have speed through here. Van Lathan maybe trying to come across. It's going to be all about this section, I think, because there's a long, steady grind here in just a moment. And they could, again, go out a little bit. And look at the speeds now. 57, 58. They still have 7 seconds here, Dave. And now this is the moment of truth. Because this next rollers into the sprint section, if they can extend their lead to 20 seconds, they have at least gotten the break established. And they can settle in a little bit more.
Well, so this is not for, in my opinion, this is all about the first batch of points that we're serving up here. I should talk about the details there, as we've got 3 different sprint points and the opportunity to get fastest through segment points. And Peloton is going to shut this down here. While the gap is coming down, this was a not well-advised play in my book. I think that these guys made a run at it, but this is going to now reset here. I can imagine that Zach wants to continue to throw good money after bad at this point.
At 7.7 watts per kilogram, I think he's saying different, Dave. This guy has been on fire recently, and I mean, not from a tactical point of view here. He's just so strong right now that he says, I'm going to throw it down. 6.3 watts per kilogram, 350 right now. Burns trying to come across
2K to the sprint.
He can barely even get across. The rest of the pack, I think, is going to be gassed a little bit here. And now he's got Burns from Mutant in the draft. Van Lathan tried to come across. He couldn't really make it happen. There's a little bit of alarm bells going off, I think, at the front here, just a tad.
Not for me, because I know that they still got 2K to that sprint. Look at the amount of horsepower back here. I would play it conservative here. I wouldn't be going all in on this panicking. These guys are just dangling off the front. We still got 2K just to the first sprint. There's a lot of racing ahead of us. We haven't even scored 1 point yet.
No points scored just as of yet. What are they up to, Dave? This is a really smart team. We've seen them do it in Wednesday Worlds. We've seen them do it time and time again in the World of Premier Division. Zach Neer now going backwards a little bit as Zanaska comes over the top. Only a 3-second gap. But Near is still a little bit involved at the back here. Look, the pack is just right there. 3 seconds. Hello, Davies there, 4.8. WLC, they're just, as you would say here, they're licking their chops here, saying, okay, this is just going to come on back here, and we're getting all of the advantage. WLC have not touched the front besides L'Oreal up to this point. And I have a feeling they're really loving this situation.
Well, you're right. They've certainly got the table set to go have a feast here at that first set of points. Now, remembering fastest through segment too almost always comes from rider back in the peloton. I'm not exactly sure what that tactic was, to tell you the truth, but I do know that I like the fact that these guys at 1K now are going to make a run at it here. This is going to be looking at Team Castelli,
Nasca?
formerly Team Italy. Here's Zanaska, right? And Burns with him from TNT. These guys very well could hold on for the points, but this was a counterattack off of the Zach Nair move.
Yeah, and well played by them if they're able to hold on to it. Now with only 5 seconds though, it's gonna be a tough one to do, especially with the rest of the next presented by Insured and just the reality of the quality.
Watch
of
how everything
here.
changes here in the next few seconds now, because what's going to be interesting is the peloton will realize that there's some bonus to look forward to. Fastest through segments, these guys are going to be just gripping it and ripping it, trying to hold on to get first and second for the points. They're certainly not going to get, in my imagination, Nathan, not going to get the fastest through segment. They're going for first across the line. That all comes up here in just a couple hundred meters.
Look at how much harder they have to work. 10 watts per kilogram.
Oh, it's rough, isn't it?
Kilometers per hour. 53 doing almost nothing at the front.
Here goes
Davies. Davies
here.
now 12 watts per kilogram. Very early jump. He's looking for a monster gap early on, but he's going to have to really
look at his speed differential though.
Now, Nordy there. 14.5 watts per kilogram. Here comes beast mode now coming on through. It's going to be Nordy now going to be the next one to lead this pack up. And here comes next presented by Insured. Will the speed be there to try and come over the top to close this down? Zanaska, I'm going to hold on right to the line almost. Here comes next, but next are not going to do it. It's going to be Nordy to the line, I think, holding on. What a move by Nordy there. Mowing through near for third. Davies fourth. Zanaska holds on for fifth.
Matt Main. Wow. Yeah, so there you go, right? The team's waiting and timing it right. That's absolutely critical here at Park Perimeter.
Yeah, interesting enough, Dave. I mean,
how did next score?
I mean, usually the overhaul is there, Dave, but look at this. There was no overhaul today. I have a feeling that this first half of the race has been so difficult. Or perhaps people are waiting for the second time through because of the power-ups and that they're thinking the fastest through segment's actually coming through for the power-ups, but this was kind of strung out. Usually it's a little bit more of a battle to the line, but Dave, this is interesting how this pack has been behaving. It's really put some people on the back foot, it seems like.
Well, it's a big group together right now as well as we take a look. I mean, so much talent here. It's going to be really interesting to see how those points scored. I'm going to imagine that you're right, that the fastest through segment won't have happened. The lion's share of those points will be distributed the second time through. 3 laps out here on Park Perimeter Loop as we begin. We're getting close to starting lap number 2 here, about a little more than 1K to wrap things up. You will see the arch, but they won't be sprinting this time or the next time through. But the points waiting for them at the finish are where we'll get everything paid out here today. As this group now, again, it's the way we saw racing happen earlier today. Riders sitting back a little bit. It's not wanting to play your cards too early. That wasn't the case for our riders that went in the breakaway early on. Tepalorio, Zach Nair and company. Zach Nair might have still held on for points up there. I mean, he is tremendously
I think he came across for fifth, which is really interesting to see. And what's interesting to me is that a lot of times on this sprint, you do end up with that pointy end as we saw there, but a lot of times it's over the top and the speed that comes through over the top of that climb. But so interesting to see that that's not what happened, which tells me that it's a very tired pack.
This is a really good preview of the finish here as well. The last, let's call it 600 or 700 meters, as it's one of the more unique finishes that we have in esports, to tell you the truth, where you build up a tremendous amount of speed right here. Look at this. It's an 8% downhill. So you are absolutely flying before you hit this little kicker that'll take you up to the finish. Now, it is really fun to race on this course. It's really become one of our favorites, I would say, through the years. This Park Perimeter course in particular is a racer's course. Look at all the feathers now. If you've got it, you're certainly loving it.
Yeah, and interesting to me that
no
a lot
points
of them are
here.
using those feathers up, just trying to get a little bit of advantage. There's only 3 power-ups, so you do have a pretty good chance of getting another one if you want.
Lighten the load.
Yeah, and you
lighten
do
the load
serve
a
some
little bit,
energy.
right?
It looks like O'Brien trying to maybe get a little distance, not going anywhere, it looks like here. That's just
for the same reason. You see what riders taking water bottle hand-ups at the top of a hill, top rather than the bottom, right? Every little bit matters, and if you've got a feather, that's a good place to use it. That's for sure. We do have the feather, the ghost, and the anvil in play today, so we have a moment of calm. Back to the peloton here. Well, I say calm. I mean, they're still sitting at 4 watts per kilo.
Going to be Mr. Scotty here on the front. And for that ART team, loving the Adam Racing. Look at this new kit. This is a sick.
They look
This
great.
kit's so great. I absolutely love what they've done.
One of
with
my
this.
favorite teams. Really cool group. They do really a good job on social media as well. ART. All right. Well, out on lap number 2 now here, this incredible replica of Central Park. You can really lose yourself in this course. It's a great place to just ride on Zwift.
Everything pretty quiet at this point as they're making their way past, again, the Central Park Lake there on the left-hand side. And I think this is the flatter sections of the course. No real bumps. 1% uphill gradient, steady grind. On the front, it is going to be GFTBE. That's the Gran Fondo team. All these new kits in game, I absolutely love to see them as we head into the ZRL.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot to look forward to this week. It's actually really exciting to get things back underway. We were talking about Next and Short and Wahoo LaCole. TNT is a team, I would have to say Hexagon. Rose Beast Mode is kind of right in the middle now. They're not a new team. They've been around for a couple of years. They've established themselves on the men's and women's side of things. These are some of the big teams in esports racing. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Nathan, but I believe that Team Castelli, presented by Elite, is what was formerly known as Team Italy, which were another powerhouse squad, a team that really represented themselves well in the Premier League.
Wouldn't be surprised if that's true. I'm not positive.
That is true, actually. I'm seeing for Luca Zanasca, he lists himself as both Team Italy and then Team Castelli. So that would make sense. That would back up my intuition.
100%.
Doesn't mean I'm right, though, does it?
Yeah, I think it's a good guess, though. I think it's a good guess. Now, looking at the
Christopher McGlinchey's racing. I didn't even notice that yet.
Played it pretty smart, it looks like. Wahoo LaCole, McGlinchey's in here. That changes everything. Talk about Wahoo LaCole keeping their cards quiet up until that right point, as you can see. And look at this FTS being so strong and 20 points awarded. It wasn't about what Nordstrom did. Now, it's awesome what he did there, and it is about it for FAL. But you look, Ruffier sat in and waited for the right time to go through for that fastest through segment.
The thing is, though, Nathan, that can change.
Yep.
So those points can disappear, which is very unique to WTRL. I don't expect that he holds on to those 20.
Because the second round, they're going to have power-ups, and you think it's going to just be a little bit more intense coming through?
Well, and the tactics will be different at that point in the race. And I think that, it's a common. So, again, it's a bit of a crapshoot trying to predict these things. But because that time was based off of a rider who was not getting a benefit of much draft out there.
100%. Or an anvil or a feather power up over the top, right?
Right.
So,
or the combination of other people using them with you at the right times.
Exactly. So I think those exponential speed gains from the pack will really impact this next time through the sprint. And they'll be looking for FTS 100%, I believe, through this.
Sounds like you're deferring to my my expertise now.
100, yeah, Dave. I think
so much of this is Swiftcraft, Nathan, and I give you all the credit in the world for understanding how the game plays out here. But and you really have to respect that esports racing is different than real life racing. Sure, 80% of it, I think, overlaps, but that 20%, that's the margins where these things are won and lost in esports.
Christoph Thiem making his way to the front, it looks like. Watch out for Rose Beast Mode with Thiem, a rider who could make some moves. He's
huge talent.
Wide of an FTP on him here.
Smart racer,
Zach
too.
Neer, watch out for another move. Zach is he's the breakaway king. I mean, this guy's the 1K to go monster. But to the front now, Magali, Tanaska again.
He's the breakaway king. But he's like that guy, the court jester too, right? He's got the ability to back it up, but he also likes to play games with the race, and it makes things really fun when you talk about Zachner, back to Luca Zanasca. We were talking about the Italians. They certainly look good there in that Celeste jersey. That's the color of the sky in heaven, if you like Renaissance and Baroque art, versus the blue that we have on Earth. That's what it looks like if you happen to make it to heaven, from what I hear.
Plant the Roo from Team Hexagon now coming on through. A little bit strung out in the peloton, it looks like, is Barry and Panizza from Team Italy, to Team Castelli as well.
And who's
to come
joining now? That's Hexagon, isn't it? It's going to be Planteru, I believe, from Hexagon.
Yeah, Planteru
It
able to
is.
make it looks like. Now
Yep.
another one coming on across. It's going to be Evo looking to try and get involved. Barry is also trying to get involved. Panizza up into the orange numbers. Now, the pack is really on the wheels, though, here of the Mutant Rider, and I have a feeling that this isn't going to necessarily play to a breakaway's favor with the way that they're giving some speed to the peloton there. 2 seconds, still a
And with
little
the
uphill
sprint-
grind.
Yeah, sprint at 17.1K, let's call it. And I don't think that it all benefits this group, right? They're just kind of rabbits in front of the Greyhound out there now.
Little anvil power up coming from Burns. Maybe get a little bit more of an advantage. Will the pack sit up? It doesn't look like it. Osprey toward the front. Then Rudian, 4.5 watts per kilometer. They're keeping it pretty steady here, Dave. It does look like they want to keep the speeds high enough to keep them within striking distance.
Classic sprint setup, right? I mean, you can't let the speeds drop too much. And now Next is going to push it a little bit more here as let's see what we've got. This is going to be interesting. Barry here has hit out. This is the first really barrage that we're going to be getting now as Next moves their one of their bishops or castles on the board, and that's going to get a response now coming back to the group. But again, I would really call Barry the tête de la course right now. The next rider here is he's going to go through this group like a hot knife through butter. And look at the damage that he's doing. Boy, a lot of Tron bikes being deployed. I know Specialized Venge is certainly one of the riders' choices out here. But taking a look at this front group, still a ways to go. Almost 2K until the payoff.
Yeah, they have, looks to be 6 riders if Barry does get on terms. Almeida from Hexagon, is he going to make a chase and bring his rider back as he sits on the front of the peloton right now? Barry's still up in the 7.8 watts per kilogram, looking to try and get across, but it's still Fumagalli at 7.6 watts per kilogram. Osprey sitting on the wheel. Burns here from Mutant just trying to get back on the Zanaska's wheel. 5 riders now at this point with 4 seconds. And if they can work together a little bit more, they can keep the speeds maybe high enough, but it's going to be a really big ask to make this happen.
I love that Castelli is completely committed to this. I mean, it would be very nice if it could pay off for them because it's certainly, as they say, the future favors the brave. Well, the Italians are incredibly brave. This is going to be the Italian stallion, Luca Zanasca, that we're looking at now as he's got the throttle all the way open. His teammate sitting back in that group. Fumagalli is a massive talent in the ZRL. These guys just might do it. They've got about a K to hold on. My fear, though, is that this peloton, once they open it up, they will be pinning it here. And you can see that they are just about Steinman moving up here. Mr. Scotty is still there. It's going to be touch and go.
Yeah, you do see that the Italians, they are working together really well to keep these speeds very
committed.
high now. They're completely committed to this. 4 seconds now at this point. Are they going to try and launch one of the riders is going to be the question. Gaffieri here now up in 11 watts per kilogram. The other Italian rider. Now, that's an interesting move. Is he trying to
they're really
bait something
going for
out
it here.
now? And they might do it here because I think they were able to get enough
This would be
rest
huge.
in this group to try and get this FAL. They said, forget it about fastest through segment. Oh, Planet Root had an invisibility power up. He comes on through. Hexagon.
That was cool. Wow.
Just out of
That's the
nowhere.
best use of a ghost I've ever seen. It shocked me. So nice job there by the Hexagon team. Zwift craft at its best. So they're into the zone now. Fastest through segment has begun. Plantero is brilliant here. Let's see what we've got.
Zach Neer comes
Scoring
on through
this
for
one.
3rd place, and I think it
Not
may
bad.
be Dawson. I have a feeling Dawson, with that anvil power up, is going to be grabbing those fastest through segments, segment points perhaps. That looked like a lion anvil attack.
I'm with you on that. Note that one, the Irishman Dawson. I bet you he's got the 20 next to his name the next time we look, Nathan. Very well done. So Zwiftcraft is a term that I love about riders who not only have the power, but have really figured out this game. And I think that Christopher Dawson is going to be one of those riders. That's for sure. As you can see, that Irish flag sitting up in the front of the group right now. Teppo Lorio from Finland is back. Wahoo Cole with Howell Davies, the Welsh rider, also up there. It looks like a bit of a jailbreak right now going on with the Wahoo Cole boys.
Yeah, WLC.
Yeah, look at this.
1, 2, 3.
I'd be on my toes
if move right now. The speeds are still pretty high.
It looks like they're trying to set something up. This might be a trap. It could be a trap, but I think that they're trying to set something up.
Steinman, 7 watts per kilogram for a moment. Now 6, 428 watts, keeping it high.
Coming up on 1 lap to go.
Maybe they're not as interested as we thought they were going to be. Oh, maybe perhaps here, Dave, look behind the peloton. This may be why they're not attacking, but look what's back here.
They're trying to get rid of people. They've got a group that they're trying to hold off. And who's dangerous in this group for them?
Yeah, that's the other question. Is
there's no next in there, which
really, is that they're that worried
next
about?
I don't think that's the tactic. I'm with you. That's a great catch. But when you look at that group, if it had 2 or 3 next riders, it would be a different story. Or hexagon riders, but it's a pretty even mix.
As they make their way
is okay.
Yeah,
TNT's
like
got their guys here.
The bigger names, it looks like, have really made this, but they are just keeping it really high. WLC, what is going on here again? There's 3 riders off the front. They're doing something.
They're trying to pull, remember BL13 from a couple seasons ago? They're almost like in that mode of trying to set up just a brutal coup de force, a team time trial off the front. They're certainly setting it up that way right now, not getting the gap that they need, but they are setting the pace here. It's only a matter of time until we see a split if they keep racing like this, and that's going to be Hexagon and Almeida going over the top. So we see the French flag up to the front now, but that's going to be a lot of Wahoo Cole lining things up right behind them. Russell is there.
Look at the speed from that Anvil coming on through. Absolutely a line.
Preview the finish. So in 1 lap, this will be where it all gets sorted out. Nathan, I don't know that we've talked to this race about how the Anvil, the dynamics of that power-up have changed a little bit. It's become more racer-friendly.
Yeah, if you are just tuning in and didn't know, but the Anvil has had a huge change to it. Anytime that you have the Anvil activated and you are on a 1.5% negative gradient or more, that is when you gain 50 kilograms to your body, to your avatar. But otherwise, there's no added weight to your avatar. So it only activates on a negative 1.5% or more if you do have it activated on your avatar. So the moment you start going to a flat or an uphill, it just acts like it's not actually there. So it's a really great change because it becomes very useful, whereas people weren't using it before because there just weren't long enough sections that were 30 seconds long that often. But now if you get rollers, you can just 50 kilograms extra down, go up. 50 kilograms extra down, go up.
The only place you could use it was like coming down from Alp to Zwift.
Exactly. And now it seems like it's a huge game changer. I have a feeling if you start to learn to use this power up correctly and find the right times for it,
it's going to win.
Speeds, it changes things. It already took a second place with Skylab this past race.
Exactly. Yeah, it's going to start impacting races, which is really cool. So nice job, Zwift team, for getting that one improved. It was always a great idea. It just wasn't quite applicable. But now it certainly is. It's going to become one of the good stories of this season for sure. We're into race number 2. Things just getting going here. We're out on Park Perimeter Loop. If you're just joining us, 3 laps. They're into the last lap now. This is the Hexagon team that really emerged last season. Wahoo Cole's been around for a while. They've become one of the, I would say, dominant squads looking to take that title from Next, presented by Insured. Sort of an unofficial title, but certainly this is Jans van Rensburg, the South African rider of World Tour rider, Nathan, in his career. Rode for multiple World Tour teams. So good to see him out here today. He did the Amgen Tour of California.
Rensburg, absolutely awesome to see. What has he been up to out on Zwift, riding for the Wahoo Cole team? What a pickup. for
Smart
them.
move.
2015
Yeah.
South African National Road Champion. He had a podium in.
That was the year that he came to the Amgen Tour of California.
Yeah, one stage win in podium. It looks like stage podium in Vuelta España 2017. 3 times in the Vuelta, 2 times in the Giro, 1 time in the Tour de France.
He rode for the Quebeca team, the
Ah,
Hand Up team. Really cool squad. That it was sad that they went away, but yeah, that's a real talent. One of the things that made me happy throughout this season, Nathan, as we have the guys out on the last lap, was getting to see so many of the racers. Jaden Yeager was a good example in real life, showing up and doing exactly what I'd seen them do on Zwift, and replicate that in real life, and it certainly silenced some doubters, if you will.
yeah. Watch out for Jaden, that's for sure.
That guy's insane, isn't he?
That's the monster.
And I mean, as are many of these riders. Jaden is one of a group, though, that has really embraced esports. These are the points. Let's see.
Look
So
at the timing from
now.
Nordstrom. Nordstrom, the first time through, got the FAL. What a cagey rider, right? First lap, he says, "Look, FAL is what's going to matter. We have no power ups." Second lap, though, I'll go grab that FTS. No big.
Through.
No big deal. And he grabs 3 points as well with the FAL. That so savvy. But McGlinchey not even really involved. And now, boom, ends up with the second there. Hyrule Davies there, Zach Neers, and Nazca. That board has completely changed, Dave.
Yeah, well, and we talked about the dynamics of what's happening in the race at that moment, the tactics at play, and who's got what power-ups. And yeah, so you can see that those riders who had those early points, and I would think even they knew, Nathan, that those weren't going to stand, because that fastest through segment, it updates throughout the race. Now, first across the line, that scores independently each lap. But obviously some big changes happening out there as we head into the finale. For this is going to be very complex, as we see some of the riders again pushing the tempo out here. We've seen multiple riders try to split this group up. Noah Balch is there, Nathan. There's a rider to watch, Neil Ostenfeld, as well, for the next team, starting to fight for positioning at this point as they're getting within 6K of our finish today.
9, 10, 11% gradient. Here come the red numbers on that gradient here, and it's going to be Hexagon on the front. Gen X here trying to follow it up. They're going to try and find some points out on course here because they have been sparse on them so far. O'Brien is there as well from Evo, but it's not going anywhere. Again, as we saw last time, a little bit extra than we saw in the first race with the Middle East, but here in Central, a little bit more of a fight in this final lap. But again, it's all pretty neutralized because everyone's thinking about those big points, not only in this final sprint segment, but also obviously the finish line points here, Dave.
Look at Michael Plantero again impacting the front of this bike race. He's had quite a ride for Hexagon out here today, but this now is where the Wolves are nipping at your heels constantly. You just don't catch a break out here for the riders that try to attack solo. It's a smaller group, though. Clearly, they've been punching tickets at the back. Here's more riders actually rejoining as they sit up for just a moment now.
My question here, Dave, will there be somebody who gives it a go at that 1K to go or so, after this sprint? Oh, and there it is,
Yeah,
Dave.
Zach Nair.
Almeida. Pierre Almeida goes.
That's going to be huge. And look who's trying to cover it. Looks like Zach Nair is up there. But Almeida, good call, Nathan. Still a ways out, though. I think even Zach Nair says, sometimes crazy beats strong, but I'm not that crazy.
And I mean, Nair threw down a massive effort early on. Almeida was not involved. And I think Pierre has been saving up a little bit for this moment. He's got 5 seconds.
I have a feeling he's going to attack.
Really
it's just not
happened.
right now. This was too early.
Dave.
It was.
There's a lot of distance here already. Yeah.
Unfortunately for Hexagon, well, not unfortunately, this is a great play because what they're doing is putting pressure on the other teams. If they want to wait around and set up their sprinters, well, they might be letting the race go up the road. It's a points race for the teams now as we take a look at a man who certainly could be in contention for our most courageous today as Burms, TNT, goes again. Davies, Howell Davies for Wahoo Lecoldo. He's got the headband on, and he's right there on the wheel or sitting in the draft. Hedge is there. O'Brien moving up. Van Rooyen is there. Granlund Young has been phenomenal today. Here we go. Finale time coming quickly.
They're not wanting him to get too much distance here. Pierre Almeida is the kind of rider that can walk away with this if he's given enough wiggle room. And he's already got 9 seconds at this point. We did see a little bit of a bump up from the speeds there. A couple of riders making their way to the front from all the teams, making their way to the front with a little bit of a kick. It does bring those speeds up a tad. That would have went up to 15 seconds if they didn't do that. Now it's only 9, and it's still within an easy striking distance for this final sprint section. Almeida needs a lot more time than this in order to stay away because we've got a pretty intense roller down here. Right here, this is where that speed is just going to come right off compared to that pack.
Yeah, you give up 2 seconds in about 200 meters here on this descent. It's so steep, and the dynamic is absolutely in the peloton's favor. Takes a brave rider of the heart of a honey badger to attack at this point, and he's still holding on. I mean, it's 10 seconds, which sounds like maybe more than it is, to tell you the truth, with the amount of horsepower sitting back in reserve in the peloton. But here we go. I was going to say the advantage goes back to the peloton, but they're back through that descent section and did not pick up much time. So this is looking better and better for Almeida. But you still look at these guys back here as they're licking their lips right now. They do not seem to be concerned at all as they realize the huge, huge advantage that they have in this chase. Every team represented except Hexagon needing to do some work right now.
Almeida looking for a little bit of reprieve for a second there. Did you see his watts per kilogram drop to 3.0 for a second?
He just needs.
Come on. Just wanted just a tad bit of rest. Now gets back into that 5.6. Now 49 kilometers per hour, 9 seconds here. But Dave, there's going to be so many attacks that come out in the next K or so. I mean, this is going to go nuts.
Right, if you watch now, he's not going to be able to make any more power than what he's doing here. So this is where you start to run the numbers. You can see, wow, ominous back there.
Lorio's going. 12.5 here, Dave. It's going to be Tempo making an early move. Is he going to get these first across the line points way out here to the sprint section? Almeida's going to get first across the line. Tempo Lorio is going to maybe be able to grab those second place first across the line. I think the FTS is over at this point, so this is huge.
Does he continue on and try to stack more points on top? This is going to be Ostenfeld coming up.
Ostenfeld with an anvil.
He goes right by, so he's sitting up right now. I think everybody's going to let this regroup here. Yeah, they are. This is going to regroup for the finale. That's going to be the catch.
Look at how quickly he was caught. The speeds are just insane, Dave. They come rolling through, but look behind
once they ramp it.
Now, I mean, man, this is interesting looking at how spread things are at this point. If there's any elastic snapping going on, there's some opportunity. Russell keeps it high, 55 kilometers on the front here, but the speeds from the back of the pack here, the roll through and the churn, as you can see, will there be a launch? As soon as this slows down, Davies, there it is. Now it's going to be next percentage short. There's Zach Neer's move, maybe sitting on, or is he going to go just covering and setting up the Rexton next? This is interesting. It's really this give or take moments here, Dave. Knight's edge of these decisions, they're split second, aren't they?
A lot of riders. Yeah, and it's interesting, animal instinct versus keying off of what others do. You have to have both of those in your repertoire here. But right now it looks like Nera's going to try to use the Wahoo Lacole guys as a launch pad for his final move as we're quickly coming up on the finish. It's less than 2K away. As a matter of fact, this is going to be what a finale now. This is going to be, well, Plantero is back. Steinman is there. Howell Davies, though, certainly going to be dangerous. The Italians are back at it now. Luca Zanasca has hit out.
This is insane, Dave. And the way that this has changed up, the ZRL has come just out swinging, and the change-ups and the power-ups, I feel like, as well, have completely changed the dynamic of this race. This is a course where I would almost always say it's going to be a sprinter's course. It's going to come down to a pack sprint, but look at this. This is non-stop attacks. The Anvil is going to play a role here. Now we've got the feather power-up. Team Castelli off the front, Plantero with Hex. They've got, again, a breakaway situation that might stick. Will the Anvils play a role on this downhill? You bet they will.
It's going to be the razor's edge that separates this one, no doubt about it. Here we go as we move on to the edge of our seats for this finale. Lucas Zanasca's been incredibly brave.
It's going to be clever here from the Vipers now making its way through. It's going to be an Anvil power up on the front here. Barry now 10 watts per kilogram.
This is clever, Martinez.
Davies. That is clever. What? No way, racing the ZRL with us. This is insane. Now on through, it's going to be Dawson. And Dawson The feather still rules the day. It's going to be Dawson across the
Huge.
line, just getting it from Plantaroo. Young, Clever Martinez, good little spot there, Dave, right at the end of the race. I've raced with Clever Martinez in the Tour of America's Dairyland. That guy can sprint like no other in real life. It's them and
Venezuelan.
Legion,
I want to confirm.
usually. Yeah,
He's
it's
with
got to
the
be him,
Miami
right?
Blazers. Miami Blazers team. You know how you could really tell is he on a Canyon bike? That would be a good clue. But yes, absolutely, one of the best sprinters in America, one of the coolest guys in the peloton. And I have a feeling he's Zwifting. I think he lives in Brooklyn or in New York City for sure. Or I say for sure, it might be even New Jersey, but from the East Coast of America, but representing Venezuela. He's actually a Pan American game medalist. So wrapping things up out here for another great race, fantastic course. Go to WTRL.racing for results, as it'll take a little while for the dust to settle out here. Lucas Zanoska, Mikel Plantero, two of the riders of the day today.
Yeah, pretty nice move there from the Zanoska. But again, the feather power up, it came on through. Look at WLC, High Will Davies trying to hold on, trying to make something happen. But here it comes.
It is
It's
Clever
going to
Martinez.
it is. That's so awesome to see. Loving that he's jumping in. But Dawson, he was early on in this race. The man to be watching out for and was able to make the moves for the first sprint section. He does it again here, the Irishman. Overhauls Plantaroo from Hexagon, it looks like. Zanoska does hold on for a pretty solid placing, though. Young right ahead of him, so it's going to be third there for Mutant, fourth for Zanoska. It looks like beast mode with Nordy. Man, Nordy really cleaned up points altogether, though, today across the board for beast mode. I mean, he's been involved in almost everything and still ends up in fifth place.
Yeah, some fastest through segment points. So that's really the name of the game, is going back and tidying up all of the points that we had amongst our fastest through segments, our first across the line segments, and now scoring at the finish line here. So that'll wrap things up for another great race out here in Central Park.
Okay,
This course is.
So check this out, Dave. This is McGlinchey giving us a little bit of a troll or something? Like, what's going on here?
Christopher McGlinchey?
Dawson is McGlinchey. Like, what is the name? Like, why? Like, I want to know what's the inside there on that. Do we have something?
I don't know.
Oh, but that's who that was. That was actually McGlinchey. That was McGlinchey. That was with the name Dawson. Thanks a lot, Chris. Appreciate it. We know each other. He's helping us out, having a little fun with us out there, it seems.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, here's the results there, Dave. That's first place to McGlinchey, who was going under the name of Dawson. Dave, why don't you take us through these as we set up for the women's race?
All right, there we go with Mikel Plantero, who is so active out there today. The French rider on Hexagon, take a second. James Young for third out of the United Kingdom. And Mutant X, it's beast mode. It's Ben Nordstrom, Nordy, as you saw him out there. Christopher Uberti showed up when it mattered with the fifth place at the finish. Noah Balch of the On the Rivet team in sixth, so actually three Americans in a row there. And then you see the Welsh rider Howell Davies for Wahoo Lacole in seventh. Con Kayan consistently in the top 10. And once again, the Turkish rider gets it done for Hexagon, presented by Saris. And then the Italian, who is so active today, Luca Zanoska in ninth for Team Castelli, and Quentin Ruffier, who we spoke about quite a bit today as well, ending up in your top 10. So those top 10 points are going to be critical, but they're not the entire story on how things score out here today, as every team member who scored points will put them into the pot for their team, and they'll see who our top team is, who will get the 20 points into our second race. This is going to be segment points that we're looking at.
Nordstrom, as we said, really smart plays. McGlinchey as well.
So this is snapshot of where we were before they went into the finish.
And then on the day, after finish line points and everything, Wahoo Lacole, hang on. Hexagon presented by Saris. They're going to be there in second. Mutant in third as it stands. Rose Beast Mode Strength in tied with Next presented by Church for fourth and fifth. Team Castelli presented by Elite Men is going to be there in sixth. It's going to be Generation X Squids, and then Grand Fondo in eighth. On the Rivet Alpha in ninth, and Down and Dirty, Ospreys in 10th. That's the current situation. The ladies are just lining up. We've got about 3 minutes to start that. We're going to take a short break and be right back at you in about 3 minutes for the Women's West race here out in the Zwift Racing League. Well, as we're getting back into it here, Dave, this is, that was a really, really hotly contested race there for the Central. And one of the top teams, a lot of the top teams were obviously in there for the Middle East, the EMEA for the Central, excuse me. And as you said, I think that's probably going to be one of the most hotly contested. But as far as the races that I looked forward to covering today, this one for the women's race is going to be a lot of fun. We've got a lot of names in here. Katie Loker's in here. Roka Corbin's going to be in here. We've got Katy Perry coming from WLC. We've got Toyota Cryogen, Electric Spirit Company. You could just keep on naming names after names amongst the women's racing in the Zwift Racing League. Draft has showed up. KRT with some old school talent. Dave, this is going to be exciting. They've jumped out on course, but as far as this, speak to this a little bit, because this is one of the coolest, in my opinion, the coolest pelotons you could find in the world of Zwift racing for this women's scene.
On every single level. You're correct, Nathan. Couldn't agree more. The spirit of the racing, if someone asked me, hey, what is esports all about? I would point to this group here. These women are supportive of each other. They bring out the best, but it's very competitive. So when it matters, these ladies are hawks, steely-eyed, but certainly the support that we see here as well has been tremendous. So, to emphasize your point, This is what it was always meant to be: spirited, fair competition. Today they're going to be racing out in Park Perimeter Loop. If you're just joining us, we've had a chance to race with them, watch the men race, and now the women get their chance on this highly regarded course. It's really, Nathan, I think that this and Richmond are my favorite courses to race on. And Park Perimeter Loop has got it all for you. It's got some steep descents. The power-ups that we have today have been fascinating the way they've been used. I've never seen, Nathan, the Ghost used so effectively. Remember Plantero in the previous race? He popped out of
All of a
nowhere.
sudden pops up out of nowhere for those first
Yeah.
across the line points. I mean, that was,
And-
we got to get that as a replay. That's got to be a
When
highlight.
they
'cause that was
engineered-
amazing.
Right. And when they engineered the Ghost, that's exactly how they wanted it to be used, having a rider disappear, being anonymous in a huge peloton, and then showing up 20 meters off the front and snatching some points. That was beautiful. And then we've never seen the anvil being deployed the way we've seen it being used today. Really exciting. They've made some tweaks in the way that the anvil is the parameters around its use. So now it really can't hurt you, but you can use it in short, steep descents to same thing, just kind of scoot right off the front and get free speed. And Nathan, you know as well as anyone that free speed, well, you pay a price for everything out there, right? But that when you get an anvil, use it at the right time. And there's really one critical sector on this course where you can use it. So let's see what ladies have got their Zwift craft firing on all cylinders, because it's not just your legs, your heart, and your head. You got to know how to play the game.
Jumping right on into the action as they take on the reverse of the Harlem Hill. They're Kookaburra out there. Interesting to see. Going to be obviously a big name within the YouTube and social medias. So we do have Katie Kookaburra jumping in. Draft now with Nevin making her way to the front.
Good for her. So she's really done a great job progressing. I remember her hosting some of the World of Zwift shows, or not hosting, but being a featured guest, and extremely cool to see that she's racing at such a high level, because this is no joke. This is the giants of esports out here in this group.
Hewitt from
Katie
Synergy.
Loker is
Miss 14, Miss 14, as Anna would call her. Whenever we talk about Katie Loker, or Katie shows up in,
because she can make 14 watts per kilo.
Yeah, exactly. Anna's always calling her Miss 14 because she has to go up against.
Technically, that's hysterical. Actually, technically, it's 13.4. Anna.
yeah, I just saw that as well. I looked it up at the same time as you did. It was like, is it 13 or 14?
It's right in between.
Now look at this.
Round up or round down.
Who is Team Synergy? What? Of course, Dave. We talk about all of these teams, and then the women give us this other team that pops up as going to be these new all-stars or something.
Well,
see Hewitt, Claire Hewitt. Yeah, on the move.
Yeah. She's a breakthrough rider, no question. Watch out for Ms. Hewitt. She's out of the United Kingdom. Synergy is a team to watch, no question. She's like right there into the super elite A+ category of racers. She's been doing her work, no doubt about it. Nathan, get this, only a level 20 Zwifter, and look at the impact she's having in the early going in this race. I'm going to keep my eye on you, Claire. Keep it up out there.
Look at the splits already, Dave. And with women's racing, these moves, they might be able to make something. This many riders with 1 second, I don't think it's going to go just as of yet, but I have a feeling this is going to be really, really aggressive riding for what we're seeing right now.
Katie Loker's in the group. Loker's in the group. I love Electric Spirit Company. This is a non-endemic sponsor. It's actually a world-class spirits company, a distillery in Scotland that's been supporting this team, and wow, have they come to be one of the most highly respected squads out there. Katie Loker is a wattage cottage. Nathan, you're right, how dynamic it is.
Look at the back of this here. There's
small split between these two big groups.
And now people are falling off. Owen from WLC was not involved there. Brandfoot's looking at this going, what have I done? Charlotte Backus has dropped socks for Watts. Gio is gone here, it looks like, from Electric Spirit already. The ladies being dropped off from this main pack. This is such a high level here for these riders.
I'm going to expect that 5 to 10 of those riders get back in, Nathan. But wow, I mean, those are some names that you. Oh well, there's a name. Svardstrom, one of the most talented esports riders in the history of racing. Svardstrom is. She's in the mix here. So this is where you have some riders, Nathan, like Kookaburra that we were talking about, that are really leveling up and just taking on this huge challenge. And then some of the undisputed champions of esports racing out here as well. So it's really quite a range that you've got. And I have so much respect for riders who take on that challenge. I see that Cryogen jersey. That's another one of the teams that has made their mark season in, season out in esports racing. This is that steep descent, no power ups at all being deployed.
No power ups. The first
No
power up
point.
available at this point it is going to be the sprint banner. So there will be no power up
have to wait to-
available. You have to
right.
wait to get it at the sprint
Thank
banner,
you.
and then from that point forward,
mention that.
you see that.
First sprint comes up at right around 7K in. There's 3 of them out here. Those sprints dovetail in with a fastest through segment. So you'll see FAL, that's first across the line. FTS is fastest through segment. That fastest through segment can update throughout the race. Is the fastest time on the first lap could be bettered in the second or third lap, or maybe it isn't. You never know. But one thing's for sure, that there's a lot at play out here, even before you get to the finish. Taking a look now at the Synergy team, they came to make their mark. Electric Spirit Company, KRT, that's KISS Racing Team. An old school OG racing team out here.
Stelvio, Cryogen, watch out for them. Always big hitters
Always.
there. The Rockets, now from KRT, one of the longest standing teams in the world of esports in virtual cycling. Nevin from Draft, also a team to watch out for, but they've only had one rider make this lead group, it looks like. So Nevin's really going to have to hold things down for them. Paul now on the left-hand side there for Sox Watts setting up. It's Sox Watts, KRT, Cryogen, Stelvio. We've got all the names here. Katie Loker's still here with Electric Spirit Cove. They've got 4 riders still sitting in as well. And the fireworks are about to go off here. The first sprint point and the first FAL on the day. Lizzie Brooke now to the front. Microphone on mute there, Dave. Just a heads up. Luis Gamps, now it looks like. The Danish rider, looking over the top. This is going to be the first section on through here. Now, Cryogen here leading things out just a little bit. Everybody kind of waiting, biding their time. Cassie, now it's going to be Langham, though.
Yeah, and again, so when you look at Langham, I'm thinking Zoe Langham, but I believe that we've got a new Langham in the house, and we certainly do. As that's one of the things I love about esports as well, is you have riders coming out of the woodwork on you, and it's going to, well, Louise Gamst is in this race out here. She's always going to be a rider to watch. This is going to be Miller that we're looking at now. So you just mentioned Stelvio. That is this version of Toyota Cryo. They've got hundreds of riders flying under that banner. That's going to pick up top points. Let's see. It looks like Wahoo Lacole was able. You mentioned Lizzie Brooke. There she is, the world-class triathlete there, getting some points along with her teammate, Roka Korba, now looking like they might start moving into the 4 here, watching out for that pink/magenta colored jersey. And this is going to do more damage, Nathan, back through the group here. There might be 2 or 3 splits happening right here, right now.
That was
wow,
so
look at the
interesting.
damage.
So interesting to see.
Yikes.
A lot of teams didn't even contest that one.
They
Miller,
can't. I mean, it's so fast.
Well, was Loker on her limit? I have a feeling that they're waiting for the second lap for FTS. They're putting a lot of chips in the table for FTS on the second lap with power-ups involved. That's what I have a feeling
every
as far
race
as some
that
of
I've
these
watched
bigger
today.
racers go.
Yeah, the first lap going for it has been a trap. It's a sucker's bet. Because it's been the second lap where the momentum, the race is warmed up, and the tactics come into play that really allow for that fastest through segment. And really, you're hoping to double dip, Nathan, picking up not only fastest through segment points, but on top of that, picking up some of those first across the line points that are available every lap. And once you score them, you keep them, versus that I was talking about the fastest through segment, where if a rider comes along later in the race to that segment and betters your time, you lose those points.
Looking at Miller's, the rider who was able to take that down. They kind of just let her walk away with that one a little bit. Nobody responded to her 12 watt per kilogram kick over the top. Now Hewitt makes her way to the front again. I'm going to speak a little bit to this new team that is Synergy. We're pretty familiar with SZ, obviously. We're familiar with Roca Corba. We're familiar with Electric Spirit Co.
Swedish
WLC,
Zwifters, my
they're all
gosh.
here.
Right.
KRT. But Synergy, a new team. It sounds like they're a ladies' competitive racing team focused on growth and development, they say. Their goal is to race hard, improve skills, have fun, and create lasting relationships. They race both the TTT and the Zwift Racing League weekly. They actually have a DS with detailed course information for both routes every week. And they really believe in the tactics, that the difference in performance, it can be all about the personal coaching and the personal DS that is available for their team. Pretty cool to see. They're energetic. They left that a bunch, mainly triathletes. It sounds, well, actually, no. They're triathletes, soccer players, runners, cyclists, swimmers, hockey players, and golfers. That's a lot of different sports within this women's team. Pretty cool to see, and welcome to Synergy to the Zwift Racing League.
One of the great things about women's sports, Nathan, is the diversity that the athletes bring to cycling with them. So many of these athletes compete in 10 of the top sports, right? It's always very, very cool to see that.
Gilbert, a little bit of a kick here. That's really interesting to see, jumping from this pack. And this is a moment that you can make a break happen as the fields do whittle down. If you do get into a smaller field, and it does seem like perhaps there's a little bit of opportunity, Hewitt, along with Deborah here from the KRT Rockets, may be trying to make a move, but Hewitt now off the front, 4.2 steady. They might just allow her a little bit of wiggle room. She has been continually trying to break this, it seems.
Well, this would be your welcome to the ZRL moment, to tell you the truth, Claire, because these women are smart enough now that they realize Claire is extremely strong, and that respect is earned. And right now she's clearly at a great level, but dangling off the front solo here with what's your intent and purpose? I sound like a lawyer, right? But what's the point of this move right now? If you're trying to force other teams to chase, they're not worried about it. They're not panicking, or they're not taking the bait. But she's got at least 7K to the next scoring opportunity. So right now, you're pounding on sand.
Yeah, 3 watts per kilogram, and Maramati heading to the front there for Team Castelli, just putting in a little bit of a 5 watt per kilogram dig, going to speed the pack up just a tad, and that's going to most likely bring.
But this is what you learn, right? This is what you learn, is that, okay, I don't want to do that again. And it's something that it takes a while. Just because you feel good doesn't mean you should go off the front. If you feel good, great, bank it, keep banking it. And keep yourself in position so that you have more power than anyone when it really matters.
Looking through this selection now, Dave, this has really been whittled down here. I mean, this is not a whole lot of riders left comparatively to what we started with.
Half
67 starters. And what is this, 30, maybe 30 riders?
That's more than 30, but yeah, I mean, it's right. It's not more than 40. So I would say half of the group, they've punched their ticket out here. And I'm not surprised. There's a big disparity in talent in this group. You've got the best riders on planet Earth in this field, and some riders that are trying to establish themselves as A's. And that's a really tough row to hoe. I mean, you're in the field with Katie Loker and her Electric Spirit Company team. This is one of the strongest squads on planet Earth today. Lizzie Brooke and that Wahoo LaCole team, they are right there. I mean, these are the Godzillas and the Mothras, the Tyrannosaurus Rexes and the Stegosauruses of the dinosaur world. They're not. So I'm wondering, is Elle Langham related to Zoe Langham?
It's a great question. Lauren Langham is who it's going to be for the Wahoo.
My guess is yes.
Because being on the same team as well, right? Like being on the same team.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some clues. I could see in high quality DNA, there's nothing better than that for cycling, right? And if your sister can do it, typically that's pretty encouraging.
I mean, there is a resemblance too as well in the profile over on Zwift Power. Or is that Zoe in the picture with her? I'm not positive.
Is she pulling a McGlinchey on us? Changing her.
No, I think I would wonder actually for a second, but I'm looking at the level, and I think Zoe is a higher level.
Did she just
than
get married? Or no, she didn't. I'm thinking of that's the danger of Facebook and all of that. I was thinking maybe she recently got married, but I believe that is not the case.
So looking through, it looks like at the front now, It is going to be Electric Spirit Co. We do see those orange and white taking over for just a moment there. It is going to be this downhill. We're a lap and a half in, and this is that next section where we may see another roll through with speed into the opposite side of Harlem Hill, where it does kick up into 11+% gradient. We did see a split last lap, and with only 36 riders here, Dave, this starts to bring it down a little bit. Charlotte Backus giving us a little hello as she's in a chase group. Hey, Charlotte Backus. She says, hey, Dave and Nathan through chat.
Big fan.
As Dave, speak a little bit to this. You start to make it so that the Peloton doesn't have quite as much strength, and then it becomes its own breakaway almost that you can start really cannibalizing itself, and you get more opportunities from that.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, this is definitely only the strong survive race. Speaking of getting married, by the way, congratulations to Charlotte Backus, as she just was engaged recently. That much I do know. So I'll stick to the facts. One thing, Nathan, the takeaway here is that Claire Hewitt has got a huge engine. No question. She's going to be a talented rider. I mean, she's not only survived through all of this, but she's still riding off the front here. Almost baiting someone to get into a breakaway with her.
Yeah,
this is a good sign for synergy.
The timings here are the things. They've got Holdcroft sitting in, maybe playing things smart rather than going alongside of Hewitt, perhaps. So Hewitt here with these little attacks off the front, and then Holdcroft just kind of sitting in and following the wheels of who she knows is going to be the stronger riders, right? So we do see Lizzie Brooke, Katie Loker, Paul there as well, and Holdcroft just sitting in behind that there, knowing that perhaps these other riders are the ones that she really wants to follow. Is Holdcroft really the secret bullet here rather than Hewitt?
If I'm Claire, what I'm going to do is just re-strategize next time, if there is a next time at this level. If she would just sit back a little bit, I think she would really shock these riders. But right now, she's just showing all of her cards. They're good cards, and people have to respect that. I mean, she's blowing this race up. And as a matter of fact, I mean, she's the difference maker out here. So all credit to her. But ultimately, these ladies, I think, are hoping to eat her lunch here at the next sprint, which is coming up in about, let's call it 3K.
Look at bonus the anvils being popped here, Dave. And now to the front. Nevin just rolled through them with that extra fit. That's insane how strong it is through these sections here. I absolutely love to see what that anvil is able to do now. As we've seen
Anvil's having its day. Anvil's having its greatest day ever today. Yeah.
So
World
good to
Anvil
see.
Day.
Now, as we were saying here, Dave, the Peloton has reduced numbers. And what happens when it has reduced numbers? It gets vulnerable. It has less power to work with, less riders that can jump across. And,
breakaway's more likely to be successful.
Quite as, that small, but we start to bring it down a little more than this. Yeah, breakaways might start to go here, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, we're right at that threshold where, but the problem is teams like, and here, there's Williams moving up for Wahoo Cole. They are so well positioned at this point in the race. I think Wahoo Cole's got every rider on the team here, along with Toyota Cryo. But these are the teams that have done an exceptional job of getting to the midpoint of this race. This next sprint, Nathan, and fastest through segment, watch out, as this group might lose another 10 riders out here.
Yeah, I think anybody who's going to be on the rivet at this point is going to really have to be careful to not get popped off the back. You want to fade climb a little bit or sit in the wheels a little bit through that net sprint section, but just 5 meters, 10 meters, bam, it's just done at the speeds that they'll be holding, especially with the anvil power-ups coming through. Those speeds are going to be insanely high, adding that weight to these avatars. It may be the day of the anvils breaking away.
I have a feeling the Swedish Zwifters here are going to make a monster move as well. This team, Swedish Zwifters, incredibly experienced. They've got the talent, the motivation, and the horsepower to back it up. They're not missing any ingredient. If they get the mix right, they're going to just blow this race up like dynamite here. So watch out. Again, I think the Swedish Zwifters have every rider here looking to move into the front right on cue, Nathan, as we're moving into the second half of this race is going to be an absolute Donnybrook. I mean, bedlam will be going on out here. Only the strong have made it to this point, and we're going to level up one more time.
Lizzie Brooke moving backwards, it looks like here, looking to set up for her sprint, letting some other riders doing some work. Watch out
for
fastest,
Katie Loker. For fastest through. That's what Brooke is doing. Watch that, actually. That's a great point, Nathan. Lizzie is trying to surf the group here.
Exactly.
trying to get right.
Last time we
Yeah.
saw her go for some FAL, they allowed a little bit of the FAL to get taken, but they didn't put all their eggs into that basket, right? That first time through, it was a little bit more of a warm-up sprint. This time, Electric Spirit didn't even challenge. Watch out for Miss 14 or Miss 13.4 or whatever it might be because, oh, there's a ghost. That's got to be a ghost. Somebody just went, oh, it looks like here a moment ago, and I have a feeling someone's off the front here at this point because I just saw a disappearance
They'll pop
a moment
in another
ago.
second.
Interesting.
You've got
Unless
me
they
anticipating it.
they made it just
They
disappeared.
might have ghosted and just sat there.
Went backwards.
Do the old
Yeah.
pump fake ghost, right?
I
You
think it was
ghost
a
and then you
pump
don't do
fake.
anything.
I think it was,
Yep.
Dave. Unless they just disconnected from the game. That's the thing. You never
It's gonna
know.
happen. Like it was a ghost or a dropout, right? So all right, so now we're looking at this reduced front group here. Okay, it's going to be a straight up sprint, actually. So this is Loker's. This is where Katie Loker lives. This is right in her block, right in her neighborhood. Right
Katie
in her
Loker
zip
has a
code.
dropout.
Postal
Katie
code.
Loker has a dropout. No. No. Katie
That's
Loker
insane.
off the back. No.
I
Completely
jinxed
stopped.
her.
And now
I jinxed her.
Loker has been off the back. Game is
Heartbreaking.
over for her, and it's 10 seconds. It's so far out at this point. Nothing to do
insane.
about it. The rest of the pack is feeling from her. You know they are. It's never what you want to see. And now here goes
Yeah,
Hewitt
that's
on
terrible.
the attack. Lizzie Brooke
Heartbreaker.
now on the attack, it looks like here. Too bad to see, though, but this is going to be the open up here. Lizzie Brooke, she's got the power up. It looks like it's going to be Stelvio now on the wheel, though. Is Stelvio going to make it happen? It is. It's going to be Miller again. 11.3 watts per kilogram in cryogen. Stelvio showing us why they are one of the best in the business. Swordstrom comes through. Firestorm there as well. Will there be a counter? The anvils are being thrown down. The speeds are crazy still, and there are splits everywhere. With Loker off the back, will Electric Spirit try and bring her back even? She's such a strong rider. Will they send riders back? Because, I mean, no, it's too far. 32 seconds.
Can't.
There's no way.
There's no way. This is a bummer. So that's the exact equivalent of your favorite rider getting a flat tire in the lead up to a sprint. It happens. It just goes along with racing, but that changes everything up here in the front. So let's go back and pick up the action as they move out into deep into lap number 2 of 3 on this park perimeter loop. It's really now going to be every woman for herself out here for the next couple of K, as you got to make split second decisions on whether you want to cover a move. Look at these splits happening now.
Blanco's
What
no
a
joke.
dynamic.
Blanco
What a crazy
is like
race.
one of the strongest riders Electric Spirit Company have, and she's in trouble.
Oh, she was seconds away from, right. This is nuts. And I mean, you had to be thinking that sprint was perfectly set up for Katie there.
It really was. She had been waiting for that moment as well. Boulder trying to get back on board here because it looks like it's going to be Cryogen working with WLC, Socks for Watts, SZ are here. I mean, everyone who needs to be represented is represented. They're just going to continue on here. If they wait, I mean, there's no reason to wait on this. And now Hewitt now back to the front, the Synergy rider driving the pace.
I think we did lose around 10 riders after that last sprint as the front group gets smaller and smaller. And well, there you go. You can see them starting to come back into the peloton now. Great camera work there, Nathan. But that's more than 10 riders. We're going to actually recombobulate these two groups here. Looks like we're back to about 50 riders up in the front, a little less than 50 up in the front group now.
Yeah, 30 riders. It looks like Ridgeway here from Roca. Bozzolini from Castelli now getting involved there as well. Loker now, it looks like
you don't see two groups that big merge that often out here. You know, that's an interesting moment.
It looks like Loker here trying to work with Ruth Shire, perhaps, waiting for the Socks for Watts rider. They'll be rolling in perhaps together. Seville from WLC as well as Imlach. Perhaps they're all going to join up and have a group of 4 to try and work together to at least bring things back, or at least get done with their race a little bit quicker. Now we do see some anvils being deployed at the front of the race now and trying to make some things happen.
Yeah, they're going to be out of the points. Actually, you know, I mean, every point matters, so it's worth it to finish. You don't just abandon out here. But what's going on right now, this is going to be interesting here because these women are just having at it. It's body blow after body blows. We get ready to take the bell and head out on the last lap. That's a good look at the finish, though, as it's a steep riser that takes you down. It's like a roller coaster ride to the finish line there, as these ladies would be hearing the bell. 1 to go, 1 to go, 1 to go.
Looks like Hewitt on the attack. She's got
Anna
3 seconds
Stardstrom.
now at this point. She did jump.
This
to
is her
have some
third
orange
attack.
numbers. And
This is
Deborah
Claire
and the
Hewitt's
rest.
third.
Yeah, this is interesting. Claire off the front now, and she's got 5 this time.
Yeah. I only wish that we could harness all of this tremendous energy into one monster attack. Although, you know what, Claire, proved me wrong, because she's an exceptional athlete. That's been proven out here. She's continuing to put them under pressure. If she can hold on and win with a solo attack at 1 to go, that's the stuff of legends.
Yeah,
I'm pulling for her, actually. I mean, it's 7 seconds now. Watch it. I mean, if this goes over 10 seconds, she certainly gets the All Heart Award.
Yeah, Hewitt now at 3.0 backs off up into 167, 166 beats per minute. So it
He's
looks
still
like
going for it.
she goes.
It's going to hit 10 seconds.
Interesting, up into 5, and then brings it back to 3.0 watts per kilogram. Then back up into 6. Interesting.
This is a rider who's
way
just
of gaining
figuring
speed.
out. Yeah, she's just realizing how strong she is, I have a feeling. And so's the Peloton, for that matter. They're probably not as excited about it as she is.
Yeah, I think allowing her to go off the front with this time, it'd be interesting to see if she can hold on to it and allowing that to go. As we do see Blanco, she did make it back.
It's interesting.
This is one of the stronger riders on Electric Spirit Co.
You get one of these in your career, what Claire Hewitt's doing right now. If Claire, I mean, the gap is continuing to grow, so she's definitely proving me wrong as far as like this tactic now. She's gone all in on it, and I'll be honest, I'm pulling for her. It's 14 seconds. So this is cut against all logic, a rider that we were not familiar with coming into this race on a new team synergy. Right now, they'll never give her this kind of gap again. I'll put it that way. Is once you get slapped this hard, you never forget it. It's 15 seconds with, let's call it 8.5K to go. Certainly, this is more than just raising some eyebrows. 16 now.
Harris from
There's
Stelvio.
no magic number here.
No, there may be a little bit of
But,
time brought back on the downhill, but I mean that's a pretty big gap there, Dave.
It is, and I mean it's gone from interesting to what I would say. She's made a point. She's incredibly strong. This is going to go down, Nathan. Possibly, I feel like we're right at the threshold of having one of those greatest ZRL moments of all time, like a Leonard Tugels kind of moment where you think, no way could a rider pull this off. And they proved that the human will and what athletics is all about, why sport matters, is about heart, about commitment, and certainly proving the doubters wrong. That'll help burn that fire inside of an athlete. Having someone tell you what you can't do. How many times have we seen that fuel someone to the most exceptional performances?
Backing off to a steady pace here, 62 kilometers per hour.
Well, if she's smart, she tricks them into thinking that she's having trouble, right? And then let her dangle out there before she has another redoubling her effort. That would be some next level tactics. Backing off a little so they back off a little, right?
As we do see, speaking of backing off, WLC.
She's done everything right so far. You establish the gap, and then you start playing head games.
WLC, it looks like setting up perhaps to try and super hard over the top here. I'm wondering if whether or not Hewitt's got the orange numbers to hold off any hard charges, or if this pack perhaps has said enough is enough, and they're going to settle in for a second place effort out here today. Or what are they trusting? 8.5 on the front there still from Hewitt. As Holdcroft now makes her way to the front, it's going to be Synergy now.
At this point now.
Coming across to her teammate, perhaps. Interesting enough.
Yeah, I mean, this is awesome. At this point now, if I'm Wahoo, Lacole, or Swedish Swifters, I'm like, or Electric Spirit. Well, Electric Spirit Company, unfortunately, losing Katie Loker. But I'm like, okay, enough of this. I'm now concerned. this goes from a UFO sighting to a confirmed alien is now landed. We got to do something here. And yeah, now you can see it's hotting up. This is, again, we've got a double dipper for you with a sprint for points, a fastest through segment, possibly, although it's starting to look like that ship has sailed, but there will be the sprint points coming up. And then the finish of this race, a little past 29 point, right before 30K. So this is the grand finale. There's Lizzie Brooke, formerly Lizzie Duncombe, one of the bigger talents that we have in esports right now. World-class triathlete.
Yeah, taking some podiums recently in the world of triathlon. Now jumping in to take podiums in the Zwift Racing League. Paul now trying to hold on to the wheel from the Sox for Watts team. As you can see, the unicorns on the back and the blue Tron here coming from Paul. And the Arrow AF hashtag on the back. And she's trying to get Arrow AF on Lizzie's wheel at this point. Holdcroft sitting in as well with Maramati. That's going to be four riders here with a 1 second gap over the top of the main pack. But the pack is solidified enough at this point that they're going to roll through with an anvil on the front. Now coming straight across. Look at the strength of that anvil. Boom. Right on through the pack.
Look at that.
Absolutely flying. Deborah from KRT. I absolutely love it.
Greasing the skids there. Just shooting by.
On that Venge 2.4. 24 seconds up to Hewitt now at this point. That's a big gap.
Yeah, huge. It really is. It's 24 seconds to Hewitt, Nathan. I mean, at this point now, how can you not say she has a pretty decent chance of winning this bike race? This goes down as Nathan, are you as stunned as I am? This is one of the greatest rides we've ever seen.
I'm absolutely stunned. Absolutely.
Stunned, 100%. I'm like blown away. Yeah, Claire Hewitt, you are a legend.
Yeah, so Lizzie Brooke now, it looks like 5.4 watts per kilogram.
It's 30
trying
seconds.
To do something about this. I mean, look at the situation here. G. Paul on
They've run out of
real
real estate. Because if you look at it, I mean, the numbers that Claire is putting up, she's still sitting on huge power. She's not fading. It's half a minute. She's going to lap the field. I mean, this is unbelievable what we're seeing.
And now,
I need to find out more about Claire Hewitt here, what this woman's background is, because obviously she's a world-class athlete. There's no doubt. I wonder if she comes from the world of triathlon, and that's why we haven't heard of her on the bike racing side of things, because what she's doing is like the British Olympic program should be paying attention to this.
So Svartström here now, coming from Team SZ.
One of the biggest talents in the sport.
Yeah,
Svartström.
huge talent.
Getting schooled right now.
So it looks like the teammate Holdcroft of Claire Hewitt is going to be
feel us both
in.
Googling her name. Talking about Claire, it's like I'm just trying to find any information I can on this talent.
And looking through, though, for this main pack.
It's not like this is a weak field, is really my point here, Nathan. This is a very strong field that has, separated the wheat from the chaff, and they're not making any real progress. Huh. Well, again, for Team Swedish Swifters, you look around, this is not a sport that's based on one individual's result. So this one is all over the shop. Holdcroft, another rider on that Synergy team, who's certainly backing up the performance of Claire Hewitt, her teammate now, who's gone to 33 seconds up and is continuing to put more coal on the fire. Claire Hewitt is not coming back. That's clear.
Yeah, and so now the points for FAL and FTS, right, Dave? I think those FAL are gone and up the road at this point, but these FTS points, they're going to be a big deal. And the thing is I think Electric Spirit Co., they really put a lot of their eggs in the basket of Katie Loker on that second lap. And
as
Loker
they should.
Now being off the back now at this point, the upset there of her having that dropout. Now they're going to just try and do what they can with only one rider left in here. Man, Team Electric Spirit Company, really a letdown for them on this park perimeter today.
So a track and field background for Claire Hewitt, which makes sense. Definitely an athlete all of her life. This is not something new for Claire Hewitt. She's an Emea. I have her as, interestingly enough, living in the United States. but she's
Svardstrom,
obviously
amazing sprint there coming in from Svardstrom. Lizzie Brooke there coming on in for third. It's going to be.
this is
we can
all
get a replay
second,
on that.
third, and on down that we're talking about, with Claire Hewitt way up the road right now.
And now we're going to be getting into the final sprint section as Svardstrom alongside of Frisk, Lizzie Brooke, Paul now. 4 riders off the front. It's going to be Cassie there, 5.7 watts per kilogram with Hermansen there trying to make a chase. I have a feeling that this may be able to stick if they really commit to it though, but they backed off to 3.2. Lizzie Brooke not fully committed at this point. And I mean, she's such a strong rider. She could just end up getting used though. Now up and over the top though, WLC always with the moves, it seems like, and they are making another one as it's going to be Cassie now, but maybe just a roll through perhaps is what's actually happening.
Yeah. So again, it's certainly no surprise to see our leader here, Claire Hewitt, has got a background in athletics. She's going to be someone. When I talk about athletics, I'm talking about track and field, and clearly this is going to go down as a one-time stunning performance. And from here on in, Claire Hewitt's going to be a rider that is at the very, very highest level. This was a performance that will go down as our platinum standard, no doubt. Rest of the riders now fighting for really the race. Claire Hewitt winning out here doesn't guarantee things for Synergy, but the spots now, the top second, third, fourth, and fifth are really going to determine what team wins. And if Synergy can take the day, well, this is the standard bearer, the champion standard out here, Claire Hewitt. If you're that strong, you can really, really impact the race. And I mean, it was her third breakaway, third solo break that succeeded.
Maramati here now from Team Castelli trying to make a little bit of a move for second place. It's going to be Hewitt off the front. It looks like she's going to take this down. 35 seconds up from the main group. And nice little kick to the line here coming from Hewitt. As she comes across here, Maramati here now trying to hold off the hard chasing pack. Is she going to be able to do it? Nevin on the front, it looks like. 4 seconds. They're just letting her go. I don't think Maramati be caught. I don't know. This is a dangerous. This is really dangerous for the pack here. Lizzie Brooke, this has been such a very difficult race to be allowing this amount of a gap go. I think everybody's just really tired, Dave.
I would agree. It's such a reduced front group right now as well. As we take a look, so they do make that catch. This is going to be the charge for second and third out here. And it's these two teams, Wahoo Lacole and Swedish Swifters, with Frisk getting up there. That's going to be Lizzie Brooke, who takes second, as we give congratulations to Claire Hewitt for taking the win out here today. And these are going to be your top 10 spots. And this is really where every ZRL race is decided, is the salt of the earth, those riders that make up the top 20 spots, these points distributed amongst all of the riders, and then it's going to be your team's total that wins the day. Was it Wahoo Lacole? Was it Swedish Swifters? Did Synergy have enough to support Claire Hewitt? What a great day of racing, week 2 of ZRL season 2022-2023. Season 1 has been awesome.
Loving the way that awesome. Lizzie Brooke, and we just saw there that roll through coming from her and Frisk from Team SZ. Very cagey riders, very smart. Look at how this anvil, and I just really want to highlight this with the changes to the anvil and the way that it completely has upset, and well, maybe not upset, but just changed the tactics and the dynamics of racing. Look at the speed they pulled through there and how much they just walked away from the rest of the pack because of those anvils. Bam, the speed, the gap, then the kick over the top of the uphill. 9.5 watts per kilogram here, 583 watts there coming in from Lizzie Brooke. Well, second place there. Frisk, Miller, Edquist, and then Soderstrom, it looks like, across the line.
I'm sure you and Anna will be talking about that on the wrap, but there's no doubt that this is the biggest change that we've seen with power-ups in my time with the sport, having the anvil being tweaked to make it more racer-friendly. And what a cool new element, a new wrinkle to add in for all of our esports racers. Today was a great day for racing on Zwift.
Amazing day, and absolutely loving to see the ladies jumping in and smashing it out here today. Great job all around.
Hey, how about Claire Hewitt? I mean, we got a new star.
Synergy. I mean, Synergy.
Liz Van Houweling is going to be.
Synergy, that new team on the block, it seems like. I mean, they came through with a couple of the top riders out here today. Great to see what they were able to pull off. And I have a feeling a lot of people's eyebrows are going to be raised, and they're going to be saying, "Okay, what's going on here with Synergy? Who are they?" And putting them on the radar for WTRL and the Zwift
Absolutely.
Racing League.
Yeah, a lot of the top riders out there, the Liz Van Howlings, the Kristen Kolchinskis, are always looking for more talent to race against, and it makes things that much more fun. And that's why we do. They don't just race to win; they race to get the juices going, the competitive juices. And adding a new top player like this is going to be welcome by everyone. Although I have a feeling that Claire Hewitt, this is not her debut performance, but certainly she rocks the world. Let's look at the segment points here as Anna Svartstrom, so consistent, along with Soderstrom, her teammate there, picking up a lot for Swedish Swifters. As a matter of fact, considering the way the finale went, I'm expecting Swedish Swifters to take the day.
Interesting. Things changed so much for Electric Spirit Co. I had them coming in as one
Twist
of the
of
top
fate.
teams to watch out for, and bam.
And they
off the
will be
bat.
next week. Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's just the simple twist of fate, as Bob Dylan would say. One little thing happens, or maybe not so little, but one thing happens in the race and it changes everything for everyone out there racing. Although I don't know that
makes it a tough
even
day
Katie Loker
being
wouldn't
as Climbers Gambit last week. They were probably thinking, okay, today we'll grab what we can. They came in, I believe, around 5th or 6th place today, and they thought today maybe perhaps make a jump, and now Wahoo Lacole still sitting on top as we'll take a look at the league points in just a moment. Let's take a look real quickly, though, here, Dave, at the results.
I don't think anybody, even if Katie Loker hadn't suffered that mishap, would have been able to withstand the force of nature that is our champion, Claire Hewitt, for Synergy Heat. What a win today for the British champion. Lizzie Brooke, second for Wahoo Lacole. It's going to be Maria Frisk in third, the Swedish rider on Swedish Swifters. Then Tammy Miller, great ride today from Tammy, in fourth for Crouch and Stelvio. Jessica Edqvist is another Swedish Swifter up there. Yeah, I mean, what a day they had. As Cassie Smith, my bad, Cassie, for Rafa in sixth. It's going to be Mika Soderstrom, Swedish Swifter, in seventh. Anastasia Bowler in eighth. Jenny Eck, ninth, the Finnish rider for Crouch and Stelvio. And then another Swede. So 4 Swedes up there in the top 10 today with Anna Svartstrom, who picked up the most bonus points as well. So there's your top 10 for the women here today.
And over with the league standings after a lot of the finishers so far. We still have a few out there to finish, though, so these will be updating by a few points here and there. So those that are really close on the day, we may have a little bit of a change as some of the riders are rolling through toward the finish still to finish up the day. But I believe Wahoo Lacole will hold on at 39 points for the league standings. Crouch and Stelvio for second right now. SC Trude sitting in for third. It's going to be Electric Spirit Co. bumping up actually to fourth.
The Swedes do win the day by a long shot today with 239 total points there versus the 210 or 213 for Crowgen. So Swedish take the day and move up into third, but it goes to show you week in, week out, you got to keep doing your work here as Wahoo Lacole remains the most consistent over our first 2 weeks of racing here.
100%. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. It's been really great to be covering a couple of the new teams out there as well as individuals. And if you are looking for more coverage, make sure to head on over to twitch.tv. Check out that Zwift game category. There's going to be a lot of people streaming their Zwift Racing League throughout the day. I know the Americas East most likely be broadcast actually by Anna on her personal stream, actually, Anna Zwift over on Twitch. So if you just check out that game category, you can find all kinds of people streaming. America's East will have a ton. I'll be streaming my Zwift Racing as well on the Americas West over on twitch.tv, so you can check all of that out. If you're looking for more of the results, head on over to WTRL.racing. They've done a great job with their league boards and updating it, actually. You can actually see all of the riders on the team, what they were able to do for the team, the points that they were able to contribute. Amazing job by WTRL and what they've put together for the Zwift Racing League for all of us. Absolutely love it. That's going to be it for us, though. Dave, great start. And we've got obviously Wednesday Worlds tomorrow. If you want to jump in with some of the top racers, grit your rankings. Wednesday Worlds the place that you can do that. It's going to be still a part of the Get Rolling and stage. Are we into stage number 3 or are we on 4? I think we're stage number 3. Stage number 3 actually. So we'll be in Douce, France. One lap of that tomorrow for the Get Rolling GC League. So you want some ranking points at the top level, jump in with that. And then obviously the wrap on Thursday. And then, man, it's just nonstop this week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the Grand Prix kicks off. Dave, it's going to be absolutely awesome to be back on the commentary. And we've got Parkour Pickers, something absolutely new coming at us for esports.
Yeah, please come join us on Friday. I am so stoked for this. The teams have been working incredibly hard to create some new dynamics in the racing. The broadcast will be a blast. So, yeah, I'll see you tomorrow, though. A lot of racing this week. But today, I have to say, Claire, you certainly made your mark. That was outstanding.
All right, and that's going to be it for us for our coverage. We'll see you guys tonight for America's East and West over on Twitch. Thanks for tuning in. And as always, everybody, right on.